2, 1, and we're live. You're tuning into the Cosmic Children Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and today I have a fascinating individual in the studio with me. I find it difficult to come up with any sort of introduction for this particular individual because I've known him for quite a bit. So I'll leave the legwork of the introductions to this individual. Jonas, could you please introduce yourself to those who might not have heard of you or might not know who you are?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jonas, like Kevin said. I understand your difficulty in introducing me because I think it's difficult for me to do that myself as well. But I think what I would like to define myself would be I'm a dancer, hip-hop dancer. I'm passionate about hip-hop dance. And so a lot of the things in my life, after the things that I've gone through, this is something that I choose to hold on to for as long as I can in my life. Because there was once in my life where I kind of had to drop it because of injuries and stuff. And, you know, work and all that kind of stuff, that when you got to a point where I had the realization, actually, what do I really enjoy and what I want to do till I die, you know, that's when you kind of realize what you want to be doing and who you are, and dancing is definitely number one for me. Yeah, so that's what I would like to define myself as. What I do for a living, I'm working on becoming a forex trader.
Gotcha.
That's for monetary aspects, but also the freedom that it allows me to work on what I love. Yeah.
So I kind of noticed like a short pause when you mentioned hip-hop and hip-hop dance. So I have two tangents that I can take this conversation. First of which is the term dancer as a definition. Did it mean anything to you before you self-describe yourself as that? Because like, let's say for an artist, like the term is usually very loaded with a lot of different things and people might shun away from it. But for a dancer, for yourself personally, did you always describe yourself as a dancer even when you started, or did it take some time for you to get comfortable with that?
Sorry.
Oh, it's a fucking weird noise.
Yeah, sorry. Mic is a little bit too clear. So, with regards to that question, I think because when it comes to the term dancer, people are like, okay, do you do it for a living? You know, do you dance for like a company?
Yeah.
Do you dance for an artist? You know, do you teach dance and all that kind of things? Before, like I said just now, my injuries and when I got caught up with different kinds of work, I used to be a dance instructor back then.
Yeah.
I used to be very heavily involved with organizing dance events. So I used to teach, I used to judge, organize events. So basically, work related wise, I was doing a lot of activities related to dance. But now I'm just a guy that dance as and when I want, as and when I can, which is what I strive to do. So it's like, it's different from how people might define a dancer, because they're like, okay, so you're not doing any of those things before. Why do you call yourself a dancer? But I'm like, so, you know, it's like, you know, if you read those like ancient novels and stuff, you know, there are people who are those like secluded guys in a mountain just practicing their swordsmanship and stuff like that. You know, they'll call themselves swordsmen or something like that. But they may not go out and, you know, they might not have disciples. They might not go out and like prove how good they are. They just do what they do. And I think that's how I would like to define myself.
Has this definition of being a dancer or doing dance, has it always been at the forefront of your mind, or did you pick it up along the way in your journey? Because it seems like a very less focused on titles, but more focused on the process and the craft, which is amazing. So I'm just curious to know, is it something you picked up along the way, or was it always evident to you?
It got clearer probably in the past few years. Because when I was younger, okay, a little bit background, I studied accounting and finance.
Fantastic.
So I used to be like, you know, those nerdy kind of guy, just always studying, those bookworms, you know?
Yeah.
But dance was the first thing that kind of gave me the confidence in expressing myself, give me the confidence to like myself in the first place. So when I was younger, probably it was the thing that, you know, when you're younger, you didn't really know that was the thing that kind of just made me feel cooler, made me feel happier. And, you know, when you're younger, things like getting appreciated by other people was something very important. So that was kind of like the thing that I was getting attention around from. And I was like, okay, I like this. And as I continued my journey, it just kind of like, it was very unconscious progression as a dancer. But when it comes to more recent, why I'll call myself that is when, because my injury was a thing that kind of like stopped me from dancing professionally and work and all those. But throughout all these years that I kind of like shunned away from professional dancing, I still found time to dance as and when I could. And when it comes to hip hop dance, one very key portion was the hip hop parties, because that's where the hip hop dance came to be. It's not about clubbing kind of partying, but like hip hop partying, where, you know, there's hip hop music, there's connection with people. We are not just there to drink, but there's like connection with people through the dance itself with the music. So that was something that I was still finding time to go for.
Yeah.
Despite not being professionally dancing. And when it got to the point where, you know, especially COVID hit, everybody had to stay at home, stay with yourself. And, you know, everybody was trying to find things to keep them sane. And dance was kind of like the thing that really stood out as the number one thing that I was like, okay, because you only have yourself. So a lot of conversations with yourself, you could be trying to play games online, you know, you could be playing PlayStation, you could be doing all sorts of things. But after doing all sorts of different things, I was like, this is not making me feel alive. But dance was the thing that eventually I was like, okay, you know, it sparks joy in me, it sparks progress in me, it makes me want to keep my body healthier, you know, makes me want to work harder for my career so I can do more of this. So everything just like absorbs towards becoming better just from wanting to continue dancing. And I was like, hey, this is what I feel from within as what I really want to do.
Yeah.
So that's why I think dancing in the past and now, it was very unconscious in the past, but now it's it came out from the subconscious. I'm choosing to do it consciously now.
How did you learn to recognize that that was no longer serving you? That the fact of that you mentioned before that it used to be a some of external validation, but right now you're doing it more of like more conscious and more intentionally. How did you learn to figure that out?
I guess when you used to be someone who like was judging and teaching from a position like that, organizing events where you kinda are put in a position where people will automatically give you some form of validation and recognition based on the position, because as the judge, you are in a sense, the most important person in the room because you are choosing the champion of the competition. The organizer, you are the one who actually put this whole event together. The judges are your friends, you know. Everybody thanks you at the end of the event, so you are always put at that position. As a teacher, you know, people come to you, thank you for teaching.
You're held in regards, basically.
From external validation point of view, there's always this level externally. And when my injury came in, all these things kind of came crashing down. So a lot of people probably at that point of time would stop doing this.
That's fair,
because it's like from a high you drop to a low. And especially after that, when I got injured, physically, I could not perform to the level I was in the past. And I go back to competitions from being a judge. Now you're just a guy that may not even pass auditions because you don't practice as consistently for a period of time. Technically, you will deprove. So you can see and feel externally the treatment towards you drops. But as this come in and I'm still like, I still want to do it. No, it's not about, okay, now I want to fight back to that position again, but I just enjoy doing this. And I was like, okay, so what you guys think of me and what you guys feed me are no longer things that I would not say completely doesn't matter, because I'm still human, but it does not affect how much I still enjoy doing this, even if it's like dancing in my room by myself and all that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, so it's more internal now.
I think you mentioned earlier on that it became, I think, a source of motivation because you can see the progress. But would it be safe for me to assume that the flip side of it is true as well? It's frustrating at times. It's not always as positive as you mentioned. Because now you have an injury and you recover from it. You always have to be conscious of the injury. You can't perhaps exert to the level that you want to. And it's always that internal resistance that's always grinding against, I guess, your own ambitions. So is it safe to assume that it could be frustrating as well?
Definitely. But why I think another reason why dance, something that I hold so dearly to myself, it helps me to balance out, because I don't know if you believe in like Virgos being like perfectionists and all that kind of things, and a little bit more critical, detail oriented, you know, and when things kind of don't go your way, you become additionally self-critical.
So you believe Virgos are perfectionists and what again? Completionists?
Perfectionists, you know, very details oriented.
Very,
they get very critical when things don't go in their way.
Yep.
You know? So it's not something that I came to realize it a bit more as I came to meet more people and all that kind of things, and start to realize like people that born around the same timing as me have these similar traits. You know, and I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know, is it a societal kind of like everybody read what Virgos do and we just self-program ourselves to like that? I don't know about that, but...
Does it ring true for yourself?
Yes, it does. So dance is something that helps me to balance it out, because being a teacher before, I kind of possess what is the kind of like the thought process to teach someone from 0 to a certain level.
Yep.
So when I apply this to myself, I have to be patient. You know, I have to, okay, now where are you? And I have to, like, you cannot be like, okay, I used to be there and now I need to get back ASAP.
Yep.
You know, so it's something that teaches me to be patient with myself as well. So it makes me not be overly perfectionist, you know, in a way, because I'm like, okay, I'll apply that where it's needed when it comes to how do I practice, you know, the process of practicing.
Yep.
So it helps me to convert being perfectionist in getting the results from that to the process.
Yep.
So I'm constantly fine-tuning how can I work on myself better, and it's very enjoyable. You know, sometimes people are like, okay, you go and tweak things. It just gets very frustrating. But the more I tweak, the more excited I get.
Does it feel like you're going against your own nature? Like you constantly have to remind it. So when I say nature, because what I mean, that you constantly have to remind yourself to let things go a little bit, to not have things always be how you want it. So it's like a second order thought that you constantly have to remind yourself. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Because I realize it's a repeating pattern. Like COVID, what happened was I wanted to, you know, everybody start to get a little bit like, okay, let's exercise at home. I kind of like designed some home exercises for myself, and then I kind of like injured my hamstring because I was like pushing myself a little bit too much. Then I rest. And then like recently I went for a dry needling session for my injuries to release the muscles tightness around my lower body. So I was like, okay, let's work on my upper body. And because I removed the lower body portion, I kind of like bring the upper body exercise up a notch, and I kind of like injured my left shoulder a little bit. I was like, it's not a heavy injury, but it's just your body telling you, you see, you got to like not be so, you know, the perfectionist kicks in again. Like, okay, you must finish this, you know? So this is something that I realized my nature to a certain extent harms me. How this harms me.
Yeah.
So kind of like, I'm like, okay, if you want to dance, you cannot injure yourself.
Yeah.
So you got to, but at the same time, you got to keep yourself mobile.
Yeah.
So it's like, it kind of like, if you want to dance, then you make sure you don't do this too much. But at the same time, you still got to do it. You know, so it helps me, I think it helps me bring myself towards a little bit more balance versus my nature of just like, okay, everything you got to like complete it 100% and stuff like that. So it helps me in a sense against my nature, but I think it serves me as a balance. So it's more helpful to me in that sense.
Gotcha. So what I'm curious to know, how do you view your progress in dance? Do you view it linearly, or after some time you realize like the linear journey doesn't really make sense? It's more of enjoying the process, that there is actually no final destination. Because why I ask that is because a lot of times you are brought up to feel, or you're brought up to think that, oh, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, you work towards that. But what I feel with regards to a lot of creative endeavors is like there is no light. You're constantly in the tunnel. You are trying to dig various paths, and the sooner you realize that, I think it's better. So I'm curious to know, for throughout your entire dance journey, have you viewed things linearly before? Like, oh, I need to get to that position to teach this amount of people, or at a certain point after your injury, you reflect and you realize, okay, I will just enjoy the act of dancing, the movement my body allows myself to do, to express. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on that.
You were right in the point that when I was younger, definitely viewing it linearly was part of my thought process, because you get to see things like people of your own generation of dancers, when they start winning competitions, they start getting judging gigs, and then people start inviting them to schools to conduct pop-up workshops, and eventually they start becoming teachers of their own, So in a sense, in that kind of like way, you got to win first before people give you that kind of like acknowledgement. Okay, now I think you're good enough to choose the champion for the next event. You are good enough to teach people how to win competitions, which it's fair. At the same time, I feel like it also could be semi-rigged to a certain extent, but let's not go to that point.
Sure.
But definitely there was something. I think a lot of young dancers have this thought. It's a very normal thing, especially when we talk to younger dancers, and then they're like, okay, I don't go through auditions. They base their progress based on how far they go in competitions. Like, okay, I don't go past auditions, I'm not good.
That could be beneficial to a certain degree, but it could be a lot more detrimental in the long run.
Definitely, because it creates a form of like comparison where this art form is not originally meant for that. It was meant as a form of enjoyment, expression, away from a lot of the suffering that that people are facing in other aspects of their life. Not something to use to get fame or money or power. It was never originally for things like that. But as with, society, when money comes in, and all things just get commercialized, and achievements, all these things start to kick in. But at the same time, it pushes people to become better, because yes, there are comparisons, but that also is something that triggers a lot of competitiveness, which actually pushes people to go further. But you will have to compromise a little bit on your expression aspect, which is a thing that it's common in this industry, where do I do something to win, or do I go down on my path non-stop, even if it means I don't know when I will win, because I'm not dancing like everyone else. But then again, why are you choosing to dance like everyone else? Are you choosing to dance like everyone else so you can win, so you can judge, so you can teach, so people can say you're good? Or are you going down a path that, okay, I like this, because end of the day, this is creative, this is art. This is not science. But the competitions kind of do that to people.
Interesting. So it feels like, to me, when I hear you saying that, it feels like it has this mold of what it means to be a quote unquote a good dancer is. And if you fit that mold, you might win. But winning in that particular sense, it seems very facade level. It might not be very fulfilling, or it might not be very satisfactory in a sense. Am I right to understand that like that?
Depends on what skill you are looking at, because there are often times where people win competitions in certain areas and think that, this is giving them what they want. And as long as they don't look out into other places of the world and stuff like that, they don't realize that actually maybe they are, because, they got there maybe with the whole competitive mindset and stuff like that. So, okay, I'm the best in my region. But when you look out, maybe you can't even pass auditions overseas. And so you feel good here. So depends on, I think, different people's view on the world, I guess.
Sure.
And what they want. Because some people, for example, they just want to make a name for themselves here. So they can teach here. So they don't really care if they can't do well overseas. Because I'm really good enough here.
And you mentioned they don't care.
Yeah.
They only care about locally in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's how they view this whole dance thing in the first place. Like there are people who could struggle to go far in Singapore competitions and they can go overseas and go to like top 4.
That's interesting. Okay.
You know?
Yep.
And then they come back to Singapore and they're like, I still don't go past auditions here. You know? So it's end of the day, when you realize that, because being a judge before myself, you will realize that actually every judge, to get to that point, to a certain extent, you need your own view on dance, which means everybody kind of have their own view. So unless you can please everyone, you are not going to always be winning in one region. And of course, that's where certain politics come in, where, you know, judges may choose, or okay, let's not say politics, let's say if you're always within this region, that's all you know. Yeah. So that depends on whether the leaders of each place actually still take classes from people who they think are better than them outside. And then they broaden their perspective.
Gotcha.
Because when I remember when we used to do I think the first event I organized with my team, maybe in 2010.
Yeah.
That's when we first brought down a dancer from the first generation of dancers that used to dance with Michael Jackson and all
The
that.
first generation of dancers.
Yes.
That is a
First
very big claim. Yeah, wow.
Hip hop dancers.
Gotcha.
As they claim, like, you know, like I don't belong in the era because I was born in the time where they started making their name, you know. So, but when he came down, the whole judging of the event was so different from how events were judged in Singapore before he came down. And a lot of people were confused because their teachers, their, you know, all these people, the people they look up to, may not go as far as maybe some junior dancers based on Singapore context. And the people are confused. Because the criteria is different. So
the meta game is different because you play games, right?
Yes.
And if you play games long enough, you develop like a meta game. It's like the game tells you to do this, but because we are humans playing the game, we develop like a layer on top. It sounds as though that when this outsider came into the bubble of the Singapore dancing back then, it kind of broke the meta game because he's bringing his thinking and his views from wherever he came from to Singapore, and he brought that in, and it just threw everybody off. For a loop.
And then after that, you know, that guy came from New York. And then another group of people started bringing down people from France. And then, you know, people in France have a very different view. Not completely different, but, you know, French people are very strong. How do I say it without sounding offensive? You know, they are very strong-minded people.
Okay.
Strong-minded people.
Gotcha.
So there's and then they have their own culture as well. To be fair to them, you know, they have their own hip hop culture.
Definitely.
So that resulted in them. Their music is different. So because of that, they dance different. Of course, they took a lot of foundations from their seniors in New York who are the pioneers and all those. But they developed their own things. When it came down, they passed down a different line of dancing. And then you start to see the scene start to change and change based on who comes down to Singapore. But in the past few years where COVID and all these things, less people came, and you see Singaporeans just dance like Singaporeans for a period of time. Until now, you start to see overseas people coming in again. So I think that's something to note when it comes to how linear and all these kind of things are, when actually it's not that linear.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you touch on that point, because you mentioned another point before about when judges judge a competition, there can be some form of rigging. I do not want to go into the details, but it brings up an interesting question, which is there any objectivity when one judges a dance? Because it seems to be skewed heavily into how the judge views dance, on maybe on a theoretical level and on a practical level. And unfortunately, based on that variable, there will be biases.
Yes.
So how does one judge it objectively? Is there any objective measure like, oh, this is a good dancer, this is not a good dancer, and these are the points? Or is it mostly just based on who is judging, what is their history of judging, and they will tend to favor a certain style of dance?
You are right. It's like that because to be completely fair, let's not say bad things as much as we can. But let's say if I were a judge, okay, definitely because at that point of time when I was judging and I was teaching, I have my syllabus. So I have what I would like in a sense. We built from beginner all the way to advanced level of classes. You gauge what is beginner level stuff. You gauge what is advanced level stuff.
Yep.
And that could be completely different from another judge.
Yep.
Because maybe different people gauge different things at different level.
And they teach differently as well.
So importance of different things are different.
Yeah.
Completely different. So when I judge, things that I value might not be what the other judge values.
Yep.
And this is the reason why competitions should always have more than one judge.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yes, of course, you might still have like two judges thinking one way and third judge thinking one way, but at least it's more fair than one judge. Because if you're only having one judge, then you practically have to dance how the judge thinks a good dancer is.
Yep.
Which some people might not accept it. Some people will specifically go for judges that they know likes the way they dance.
Interesting.
So, end of the day, like I said before, it depends on how you want to progress in this dance thing.
Yeah.
What this dance thing means to you. Yeah, like for myself, just now I remember you asked about linear and how do I view it now. Going back to that point, for me now, same thing, I'm a human, so definitely there are portions of me that, okay, I can't be like, oh, now I'm just all enjoying and then I don't give two shits about how well I do at a competition because when talking about honestly expressing self, I think being honest with myself, I would want to do well too, you know, but the reason is different now. It's no longer something that I want to go there to get recognition and validation from people, but it's more of a, now for me it's okay, it's more like, because I'm still a bookworm nerdish kind of guy, accounting, finance, systematic, structured kind of guy. So when I teach myself, I have like a full clear. So to me, it's like how well I put my own system out onto the competition and I gauge that on how well I perform I do not just base that, because I understand sometimes I could meet an opponent that maybe the judges favor a bit more.
Yep.
So be it, I will lose.
Yep.
You know, sometimes I don't feel on form that day, you know, because there's so many things. This is not like we are going there to perform maths questions, you know, where everybody knows the answer, you know, or you know, or you don't, you know, it's the music comes out, you can feel different. That day you could have been scolded by somebody you love, and then you feel bad, you know, and the other person maybe has been doing well in different aspects of their life. You come here today, okay, I feel good, I love myself, I'm confident, and the energy comes out different. So there are so many elements that can affect how you perform in a competition that you cannot just let the result tell you how good you are. But at the same time, because I was at the judging panel before, I kind of can gauge. I can just use I can use that experience as a judge and as a teacher in the past to like look at myself. I'm like, okay, now what you do, you are not going to go past top 16, top 8. Top 8 may be your max, depending on your opponents, you know, if you have good matchups and stuff. If you have bad matchups, you face somebody that is of the champion quality, you're out maybe in top 16. Maybe you meet him in a top 32, you are out, you know? But so I know that as a gauge for myself on how do I work towards it rather than, so that's my way of viewing progress. You know, of course, at the same time, I take this with a lot of enjoyment. So I build on my dance because at the end of the day, you still kind of need some kind of like thing pushing you forward, but it should not be something that is, I think, damaging to yourself. So to myself, it's like, okay, if now I'm like that, so I work more on I'm going to continue working on myself with fun, with like looking at my progress from my own system. And then I'll go to the competitions to test myself. So I go there to test myself, not to go there to like prove myself. It's a very different thing. Yeah. So that's how I view things now versus how I view things in the past. Yeah.
It's interesting you brought up the math comparison because math is something, especially with exams, there is an answer. And the keyword is answer.
Yes.
But for a creative pursuit, there might not be an answer. There is no one definitive answer where everybody can agree on, oh, that is the way to do it. You can do it this way, you can do it that way. And in the structure and the framework of competition, it could be a variety of factors. There are a lot of variables, as you mentioned. You mentioned all the tangible ones, which is like the music, the form, the techniques and everything. You mentioned more of the intangible ones as well, how you feel, because ultimately it is an expression. It's not just a set of moves.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting you brought up that comparison because that comparison is very clear because something as structured as math comparatively to like a creative form, which is a toss-up really.
Yep.
Yeah. So my question is, what are the attributes or what values do you ascribe to a dancer that you look up to, or / a good dancer? I don't know if you would categorize it as that. What are these things you ascribe to it?
Dancers that I look up to and dancers that I deem good are actually two. I actually separate them.
Okay.
Because
why is that?
It reached to a point where I kind of realized that just because I don't personally prefer the way you dance, does not mean you're not a good dancer.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Where I think it's very sometimes people don't do that because it's kind of like if you are not doing what I believe in, it's kind of like invalidating what I talk about. But for me, I don't believe in that because you can only improve this much if you only think what you know is correct.
That's fair. Okay. That's an interesting way of looking at things. Yeah.
Yeah. But the dancers that I look up to are dancers that probably I can actually put them into my system. I'm like, you are performing my system to a very high level. But dancers that I think are good can perform that in a way that I don't prefer, but they are still performing to a high level.
Yep.
Because how I like to break things down as a dancer, for example, certain things you kind of like can't escape, like timing. You know, you can't, that part is kind of like math. Yeah. You know, like you can't be like, okay, I'm dancing, but you are off the timing.
Yep.
And then you're like, everybody is different. I'm like, no. No, sure. I have a baby nephew. Okay, when he was like when he first could stand up and move, and when I play music, even he like nods his head on beat.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that's not taught.
Maybe he's experiencing a layer of the music that nobody can hear.
No, but to me that normally comes up. I realized the cause of people dancing off timing because I started off as a dancer that completely was off timing. My teacher, my first teacher, and a teacher that I still look up to today, it's somebody that preaches a lot on this thing called timing. And when I first learned from him, he was just like, I don't care what you can do, because I was kind of like a little bit acrobatic in the past because I had wushu background.
Okay.
So physically, I was like, okay, I can move a little bit more.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, you can do all these things, but you're not even on beat. And I was like, what you mean I'm not on beat? You know, I kind of get offended.
Yeah.
Because like that to you is basic number one. And it's just like, yeah, basic number one. And you can't get it right. I was like, But looking back at it, I realized what caused it was there was more focus on what I was doing rather than what I was listening.
And there is a difference.
There is a difference. It's about wanting to complete a move rather than moving with the music. So yes, I am still listening to the music, but when I want to do this move, my focus is on completing the move in a way that I want to. And because focus is limited.
Yep.
And when your focus is on this, you kind of like neglect moving to the music a little bit. You want to like use more strength. You want to show more of it, that you might rush it.
Yep.
And you don't realize it because to you, it's sometimes being off timing is just a fraction of a second.
Are these conscious decisions or like micro decisions like you have to make? Or
I think it's about building muscle memory.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is really fraction of a second because, there was a period of time like Instagram. I don't know if it still happens now, but when dancers upload videos on Instagram, you just become off sync. And then I used to edit some videos for the events that we used to do. So I have a video editing software.
Yep.
And when I posted my video on Instagram, I was like, and I watched the original video, I was like, the timing is off. Let's see the difference. I actually took the video, went to a video editing software. I made my movement slower by the music by I think like 0.02 seconds.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
To 0.03 seconds or so.
Yep.
And then I uploaded it and my movement was on sync. And I was like, that's how micro of a second it is.
Yep.
But those who are sensitive to it will realize. But those that don't, they don't realize that. But it's a very big difference when you realize that when you're on and you're off, it feels different. You may not need to know it, but when somebody is on and somebody is off, you just feel different because you are feeling one with the music rather than slightly off. So, what was our question again? How did I get to this point?
Your difference and how you categorize like a good dancer.
Yeah. So things like timing is, it's kind of like dead. Few things I would categorize. One thing I value a lot is how much I see this person expressing himself.
So what does that mean to you?
Because I do see a lot of dancers now that there's a lot more information on social media, people are offering online classes during the COVID period. You see a lot of people start to, in terms of technicality, strengthen themselves so much. And, with a lot of fitness now, a lot of calisthenics, like movement kind of exercise, everybody physically is getting stronger too.
Yep.
So you start to see movement that you don't see 10 years ago. 10 years ago, only maybe the top few dancers are moving like that. But now, a lot of dancers physically are moving in a way that's superior to how we used to be moving 10 years ago.
So the bar is a lot higher now in that sense.
Technicality.
Yeah.
But you don't see a lot of individuality in that.
Interesting.
So if you were to be like, if we use singing as an example, you can practice all the, you can go high range, low range, technically you are great. Yep. But some certain dancers singers, when they sing, you just like, wow, this person is like, you can connect with the person. It's not about being impressed by the voice. So this is something that I actually like feel that a lot of dancers kind of don't do that.
Okay.
They don't bring out who they are. And it's difficult. It's difficult because I think especially with nowadays, especially in Singapore, let's not talk about overseas, where a lot of self is being suppressed in Singapore because you need to be this way, you need to be this way, you need to be this way. How Singapore education system kind of put you. So a lot of people kind of don't dare to be themselves completely. So they will rely on what is correct, which makes them do fancy, difficult movements. But I don't see you.
Sure.
So this is something that's very intangible, but this is something that I value, number one. And secondly, I watched this video recently, which is quite interesting because I'm sure you heard of the word groove. A lot of people thought, this person got the groove, that person got the groove. But I actually was sitting there at home once and I was just like, what is groove?
Sure.
Because even as a dancer who have been dancing for so long, I was like, okay, let's really think about it. What is this word groove?
It's like a terminology that gets thrown around.
Yes.
But there's no one set definition of. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like something very intangible to it. It's like words like groove, soul, feel.
Yeah.
It
could be a category on one day. It could be the way you dance on another. It could be the way you look on another. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually watched the video and I was very inspired by it, and because it was a video of a pianist, a guy using a piano to like, okay, let me explain to you what groove is. I was like, I'm not gonna hear any snare. I'm not gonna hear any drums. I'm not gonna hear any beats. This guy is playing the piano, and he's one talk about groove, because my understanding of groove previously is like how you with the rhythm and
it's
stuff
movement,
like that.
Yeah.
So it's like rhythmic kind of thing. So rhythm, and normally there's a poops, cats, how you do move with that. And I was like, this guy is using a piano to talk about groove. Okay, let's listen to it. And the guy actually plays like songs that we are very familiar with, very famous Mozart songs, Beethoven songs, and so we are familiar with how they sound like. And he's like, okay, I'm playing this without groove. I'm like, okay, only your fingers are moving. So it's very interesting because like only his fingers are moving. And I'm like, you are pressing the same key. So how different can this be?
Yep.
When he pressed the first one and the second one, he was like, it was very surprising because it got me to move with the music the second time he played it. But he was pressing the exact same thing. But it was just probably like how hard he was pressing it and like, the difference and stuff like that. But it created his like, so when you link all these things together, every single note in different strengths and kind of like that's how I took it because I'm not musically trained. But to me, when I watch it and from the music, how it hits me is from the music, there's something that makes you kind of like move with it. And I was like, actually, that is true. There are a lot of times when I can watch good technical dancers and I don't naturally move with them. I might clap. I'm like, that's difficult. I give you acknowledgement for pulling that off, for hitting that beat in that way. But not every dancers make you kind of just automatically move watching this person dance. And I was like, wow, I got to learn this thing from a pianist.
But it's interesting because it feels as though everybody has their own internal thesis as to what dance is. And like you mentioned, like to the individual, that is what groove means to him. So what I'm curious to know is, you mentioned you watched this video recently. Would you have gained this particular insight if you watched it 6 years ago? Do you think?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not because it's a different state of mind, different state of like now I'm like it's one of my enjoyment to like, okay, let's dissect my dance and like see what can I do to improve and like so I can like add new things into my practice. So in that aspect I was like, okay, let's look at this thing called groove and see what I can do with it. And 6 years ago, definitely no.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely no. It's probably a very different view. Probably back then, if I want to look at the word groove, I'm like, okay, I want to become, probably from a teacher point of view, like how do I explain this to a student? And or as a judge, after events, dancers come to you, ask for comments, you know, like how do you explain this to somebody else? But now it's more like it's like reading a book and learning a new piece of knowledge that is applicable for your own life and stuff. So I take it very differently.
So you mentioned about how it's about expressing who you are. So what I'm curious to know, it's your own personal journey on that. Do you know what you're expressing when you dance now? Are you still on that journey? Have you started that journey? How would you put it to words?
I think when it comes to expressing myself, for me, it's something that I try to do it on a daily basis when it comes to even outside of my dance, because I feel like the reason why probably a lot of people don't do it so comfortably when they dance is because they don't do it naturally.
Okay.
And
what does it mean to express yourself to you?
To me, it's about being as honestly real to how you feel about things. Of course, without being offensive and rude and harmful to people,
within civil society.
Yes. But to how honest you feel and how you are facing how you feel, because you may be feeling horrible, but how are you dealing with it? And it's that relationship between how you are feeling and how you're dealing with how you are feeling.
It's two different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because how you feel to me is a physical thing. Because of how you have been brought up, your programming as a kid and different kind of things that trigger you differently. And how you choose to deal with it is your conscious choice now. It's like anger management, Anger is the physical aspect, and then the management is the conscious aspect.
Sure.
So expressing yourself, that's and who you are, how you dress and everything. Like a lot of dancers dress baggy clothes and baggy pants. Probably not because they feel like it, but because that's how hip hop dancers dress.
The stereotypical, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Or because it makes your movement look nicer, because you look bigger and everything. Like I'm a little bit of a cheeky, hoppy kind of guy, like kind of character, like I like to be a little bit like that kind of character. So the wearing shorts look is kind of like something that I feel very comfortably me. Of course, it makes my legs movement less clean in that aspect because if anything, if my leg shakes, it's very obvious.
Yep.
But if I'm wearing baggy jeans, my leg looks solid because
it just breaks up the silhouette, basically.
Yeah.
So your silhouette's a lot bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like a lot of people, that's why you kind of like see a lot of people dress the same in competitions, probably because their teachers dress like that.
Interesting.
Or their favorite dancer dress like that. Of course, it doesn't mean that I'm not influenced by anybody that I look up to, but at the same time, like, I'm like, I don't, like, you can see if dancers dress away in a competition and they don't dress like that normally. I dress the way I compete, the same way I dress when I go out.
Yep.
So, like, I'm like, that's me that's what I mean by on a day-to-day basis, expressing myself and in competitions.
Yep.
So, expressing yourself, like, and I like to be cheeky. I like to disturb people, in that sense. I like to, like, throw stupid jokes.
Gremlin finger.
Yeah. Like, I like to, like, say, like, random stuff out of nowhere to be, like, make people go, like, what the, like, that's me for people who kind of know me, like, you know me. So, probably nowadays I do a bit lesser, but, it's still part of me.
But how do you showcase this through dance, though? Is it even applicable?
Yeah, I'm a very I like
side though, damn.
Yeah, because like to a certain extent, people say they don't like to be confrontational. To a certain extent, I like to be confrontational. So most competitions, you see me go up to the person's face, like it's not a battle strategy. It's just me. I just like to go in your face. Like so like that aspect is like then I'll like go to you, then I'll like do something. I'll look at you out. Like I'll probably do your move and mock it, and then I go in your face, and I walk back and I like smile at you cheekily. Because that's me as a person.
But it's all acceptable within the competition metagame, right? Okay.
Yes. So that is me being me.
Yeah.
Rather than a lot of younger dancers probably like go out there to adopt a certain look.
Yep.
I'm here to win, so I need to look calm and cool at the same time. Nobody can touch me. I'm here to win, like, so it just becomes like it becomes like a meta look that they are trying to adopt.
Yep.
But they don't realize that this comes from people who are winning competitions because they have gained that natural, like they have gone through hundreds of competitions. They probably won, don't say half, they say 1/3 or 1/4 of it. It already give them, depending on the scale of the events they won, they might have won a world championship and stuff. So when they stand there, it's natural that they look calm.
But you don't see the history, you don't see their training, you don't see all the backlog of stuff.
Yes, you don't see like they survived through how many practice that they injured themselves or whatever, and it learns. So that when they stand there, just like, I got this. I know who I am. I'm here to bring out my life. So
there's like a quiet sense of confidence. It's not arrogance.
Yes.
It's just a very balanced, calm confidence because of the things you went through, or the things that the individual personally went through.
Yes.
I can attest to.
Yes. So when he comes out confident and look at you, this guy is not acting. Yeah, you actually you can feel it. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a very intangible thing. Yeah. So I actually prefer a lot of things that are intangible than versus tangible.
Yeah.
So that's what I view as dancers that I like.
Yep.
Dancers that are good on the tangible aspect. As long as you're good on the tangible aspect, I'll call you good, because that takes work. Yeah. It takes a lot of drilling, muscle memory, repetition to get to a physical execution of things. Yep. I have to give it to you. Whether or not I choose to build my physical techniques that route, doesn't matter. It still shows that you put in the work, and I'll treat you as good. But as long as I don't feel you, and I don't you don't make me move.
And there has been instances before where people might regard this dancer as a good dancer. They did a very good piece, but it just doesn't resonate with you in any sort of way.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it kind of goes against what did it say, trend? It goes against what perhaps everybody's thinking at that point in time. So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of times where I preferred one dancer over the other, but competition-wise, the other one won. And at the same time, I understand, but I just prefer the other guy.
Yep.
Because to me, it's like, this is a guy that I would want to exchange energies with. Because that I like you can hear, I prefer the intangible. I prefer the energy that we can get from that exchange versus just looking at what you technically can do. Because I can be inspired by what technically you can do, and I can just go home and practice.
Interesting.
Yeah, but your energy, your expression, that is something that you don't get just by practicing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So before I move on to another tangent on the topic of expression, do you think that it is unique? Like it's like a thumbprint. Everybody has a unique form of expression, and with regards to dancing, do you feel that people should be aware of it and should develop it alongside the technicality of it? Like one shouldn't be sacrificed for the other, because ultimately to be a competent dancer, or you need both. You can't have too much of either one. Or can you have too much of either one? Can you just have full-on expression without any form of technical knowledge?
Yes, you can.
You can?
Yes, you can.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it goes back to a point that I said just now. It depends on what you want with this dance thing. You know, because
so that is the root of everything.
Yes. If you are like me, you just, okay, not exactly like me, but the part that I said about like, you just enjoy doing this. Just do you. You know, just do you. Because at the start of all of this dance, there was no techniques.
Yep.
You know, at the start of all this is just expression and connecting with a certain groove of the music that makes you move in a way and you express yourself. And that's how this street dance, almost all street dance came to be. So if you think about it in that sense, with these two, it's enough to become a competent technical dancer as well. You know, because all came from here. But you can be a completely technical dancer without having any of this. Because it's like almost practicing gymnastics.
Yep.
You can become like that. And without learning how to connect with yourself, without making anybody bob to you, but everybody will clap for you. Yeah.
And based on what you shared, the root of it and why you want to do something can also change. It doesn't always have to stay fixed for like a decade or 2 decades. And that the adaptability can only be dictated by yourself.
Yes.
Gotcha.
How honest with yourself at different points of time in your life. Yeah, because maybe now I'm still, in a sense, I'm 31. I may have injuries on me, but due to the past few years of doing a little bit more physical rehabilitation and like physical strengthening, I've gotten to a point where physically I can actually go back to competitions again. That's why, you know, so I'm like, okay, so because of that, I'm like, why not try again? You know? Try, you know? Like try, you know, you work on it, then go and compete and try.
Yeah.
You know? Try, you know? So, but if I'm 45 with injuries that
they've collected along like the 2 decades or 3 decades of dancing.
And like going to a competition, coming home, I will have to rest for a week. Then you are like, and you have work or you have like, you need to do things at home, then you can't do that anymore. You can't be like, okay, I want to go and compete, you know, because you go compete with a little bit of competitive nature. Sometimes you are going to do things that are things that you might not do in your practice because you know it's borderline risky based on your injuries. But in a competition, you know, with the adrenaline, you are going to do it in the moment. Maybe you face an opponent, you're like, okay, I'm going to go everything for you. And you do something like that. And now I feel like I have that allowance to do it. But maybe as I'm older with different kind of commitment or responsibilities, I don't have that, you know, freedom to do that. Then I might not want to have that element in my dance.
Yeah, because it could be a risk ultimately.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, at this point, do you think that dance is something teachable?
Teachable?
Yeah.
Rather than, okay, yes, but it's not, you are not going to become, in my terms, let me see. Okay, like I said just now, you can be good technically, but like what I like, you might not become a dancer. What I like, if you're only learning from somebody.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Because you are only going to become like that person, which I see it so often.
Sure.
That dancers that follow a teacher for, like, they just keep following a teacher.
Yep.
And they just become duplicates of the teacher.
Yep.
And I'm like, where is, which brings out the point of I'll ask, where is the you in that? But of course, teaching like fundamentals and experience, all the kind of things definitely can be taught. But to go to a next level, I think you need to be able to search inwards really.
Yeah.
External things can all be taught. It's like learning how to do a push-up or learning how to do a handstand. All this, just with enough work, you will be able to do it. When you think about dance movements, they are just physical psychomotor movements.
Yep.
So anybody can develop psychomotor movements if you are physically fit, of course.
Yep. So
that aspect is teachable. But the part of becoming you can only, I think, be inspired. It's like, because it's a non-tangible thing. If you don't get it,
very non-tangible.
If you don't get it, you don't get it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you need to realize, because I also personally know dancers who have been technically, I would say, very equipped for years. But they are just, those two elements are just not there.
Interesting.
And they could be dancing for a decade.
Yep.
You know, 10 years in and I still don't see that.
Okay.
So they probably just, and I can hear other dancers talking about the same dancer with similar intangible terms. You got no soul. I don't feel you, I don't, your groove is a little bit artificial, like the
artificial, interesting.
So it's like, it's kind of like all very, okay, the groove artificial is probably the most tangible way of saying it, but at the same time, it kind of explains what I said. You are technically equipped.
It feels as though that there's like a hidden checklist of things that you have to reach a certain level, then maybe you gain some sort of enlightenment and be, I've missed out all these things all along. It's like a hidden checklist.
No, but it's like that. And I think that it's very interesting because even dancers that are technically equipped, that maybe they're on this aspect, they are not so equipped, they recognize that these people are good at these things.
Oh, interesting.
Because they are dancers too, they spend enough time with music as well. And when they look at another person do like a movement that is simple but so it hits them.
Okay.
They're like, wow, it's not a bunch of difficult movements, but it hits you. And so they can feel it. So they were like, okay, how do I work on this? Yeah. And then, because this thing is so intangible.
It could be the greatest question. I mean, it's one of the great questions.
Definitely. Yeah, and I felt like probably, like, I would probably actually, by right, should fall under the technically equipped kind of person in the past.
Okay.
Because of, because I learn wushu.
Sure. Right?
So wushu kind of teaches you to be like, your form needs to be perfect.
Yep.
And your psychomotor, so like, there's hands moving everywhere, you're jumping, you're flipping, you're on the floor, then, strength, speed, everything. So you kind of like, my body is kind of used to that from wushu. So when I came to dance, picking up choreography or psychomotor movements was not difficult for me. Of course, I may not execute them, like to execute them to like a point where it's like people get impressed, you need work. But I catch things faster than a lot of people.
Yep.
But I think I would not say now I'm on this. I would say this is still something that I trying my best to constantly embody, because there are people who are more natural like that. Like African Americans.
Sure.
In Singapore, the Malays. The Malays they joget. They when they just like move a bit, you're just like feeling. They always like feeling. But yeah, when you watch Malays like a bit, you just like wow. Or I go Philippines.
Sure.
I go to the hip hop club. None of them are doing hip hop techniques, but all of them are dancing better than me.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, because
what do you think that is? Yeah.
I think it's the way their culture is, you know, because they listen to. I go into their malls, you go to a random like fast food chain or a restaurant, they're playing hip hop music. So this music is in their life, daily life. And they are a lot more when it comes to people that I've met in different places that I was like lucky to go when I was in the past due to work. Filipinos are very honest. Like they are very real. You feel like these people, I'm not saying they don't have like scheming, manipulative people there, but they are very, when you talk to them and you feel the sincerity, you feel the realness, you feel sincerity. You feel authentic.
Yep.
You feel that they are very authentic. And in that aspect, that's why when they dance, it's like I said, the way they live. So they are more expressive. And because they listen to this music on a regular, you know, probably the movement is in them at home.
Yep.
So they listen to good music. Filipinos can sing.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, they naturally this elusive groove, intangible groove thing that makes people move, it's in their daily life. So when you go to the club, they have these two aspects. They don't need any technique. I go in and I'm just like, you're all better than me, man. Like, it's just like, yeah, you know?
Yep.
So technically, I'm like, if it gets down to a technical battle, when somebody look at me, hey, I look like you can dance. I'm like, okay, when it comes to a technical battle in the club, then okay, I can show something. But if you're just holding a glass of like drink and then you're just like moving from side to side, nah, I can't touch them. I can't touch them.
Because it's funny because let's say like for dance or even for art, you can be a very technical individual, but as you mentioned in let's say a clubbing setting or outside or at a party, for the layperson, you don't run through all the techniques that this person is doing. You are just looking at how the individual is moving, first of all, and the music. And you can get a certain vibe. I think the word is vibe. All these words I used to perhaps just describe this intangible X factor that someone is moving with, let's say, confidence and intention. And you can definitely feel that. Yeah, I think there's this thing called one with the music. Yeah. So all this while we've been talking about one aspect of dance, which is the individual, the dancer. What about the music aspect? How much have you explored into that? Because let's say when you go to a competition, let's say the DJ is playing, I don't believe you get to choose your track. And the tracks are always random.
Yeah.
How? Did you practice just with a whole lot of tracks? Because there's so much musical genres. You mentioned about hip hop. Even within hip hop, there's so many subgenres. How do you cognizantly deal with the randomness of it? Is it always similar? All the music similar? There's always like a 4 beats and in one bar and you go from there? Yeah.
To answer this question, I have to start with the point that I repeatedly say, depends on what you want as a dancer. If you want to be good at competitions, you will have to practice to all sorts of hip-hop music.
All sorts of hip-hop music.
Because there are music that are a little bit more, like let's say, you know, from dubstep come in one. So there's a lot of different layers going on at different times. The snare can disappear for like 2/8. You know, like there's just melody going on, or there's, you know, the person could be rapping with no beats at the back. Or there's no rapping at all. There's just pure beats. Or there are songs that's just, you know, monotonous beats and this, like there's nothing to hit except for 1 and 2. So if you want to be good at competitions, you will have to expose yourself and get familiar with music like that, so your body doesn't choke.
Choke.
Yeah. Because this happens if you go to a competition. Like, for example, in the past, when I was competing maybe like more competitively years, like 7-8 years ago, I don't listen to instrumental music with like random beats coming in.
You don't listen to it?
I don't, like, I kind of don't like it. You know? So when these songs come out in a competition, I will choke. Like, I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what to do with it, you know, because I'm not used to this. I like to be brought moving ahead by the vocals. The vocals give me the character.
Yep.
It helps me connect with my character. And you remove that and you just give me then out of nowhere. And I'm just like, I don't even know that was coming.
Yeah.
You know, especially on certain sides, just like boom. Cut. Then I'm like, you know, but somehow there are dancers that don't know, never listened to that song before and can react to that.
How?
They practice to this kind of music, so they are not like they can react to beats coming in faster.
Yep.
There are people who actually practice beat making, and like they go into beat making, they go and study music.
Yeah.
So they already have kind of like a idea in their head of what makes up
a piece of music.
Yeah. So, or they have even made their own music. So they are not, they naturally, they are they probably can view the music in like sound waves in their head.
Yep.
Because of how they have their experience. So layers of music come in, they probably heard it like 4/8 ago. They know it's coming in 4/8 later. Because they know you don't just like put something in the first 8, then like suddenly like 7, 8 later you put it, it's too random. You know, you kind of like need a certain kind of like
consistency.
Yeah. So they pick it up fast, but they may not hit it the first time they remember. So the next time it comes, they hit it. They know it's coming.
Yep.
So these are different ways that you can prepare yourself for competitions, I would say. But the other way of you wanting to be more of yourself, then you just listen to music you like. Yeah. You just listen to music you like. But you know this kind, then you're not going to do well in competitions.
Yeah. What about yourself though? What are your listening habits today?
There are musics that I like. In my Spotify, I have various playlists that I compile.
Yeah.
Like one is called Vibe Tribe. I like to name them. One is called Vibe Tribe. One is called Club Hub.
You mentioned you're 31, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Vibe Tribe.
Okay.
Club Hub.
Yeah.
Lounge Pound.
Yeah. 31, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Instrumental, but the mental I put it in caps because you see, this is how much I kind of don't like it.
Is there a Z behind?
No,
Instrumentals?
No, just
okay,
instrumental.
okay.
Then mental is in caps, so instrumental because I'm like, this music kind of drives me mental.
Even right now, you don't like instrumental music.
No, it's not. It's I don't like, but it does not get me. But I also realize one thing. Most people don't like things that they are not good at.
Yeah, that's fair.
So as I become capable of dancing to this music, I don't dislike it as much. But it does not. It's not my go-to music.
I gotcha.
Okay? It's not my go-to music.
Okay.
But I learn to
accept
it and appreciate the what it does to me. Because what I build with my dance now is there's another component of building my relationship with music.
Okay.
So I'm building my relationship all different playlists. So because it connects with different parts of me, I feel.
Interesting. What do you mean by
that? Like the lounge pound is something that it's like I envision if I were to have my own place in the future and I have like 2 different speakers. One in my living room. The living room I'll be playing the lounge pound because it's calming and stuff like. My room one will rotate between like there's another one called No.
Okay.
Probably Club Hub and the other one is called Rap. No, rap as in the burrito rap.
Okay.
Rap as in rap music. So rap. Between these two. Because it depends on my mood.
Okay.
But my living room will always, because the lounge music, when like I kind of realized that music definitely makes you feel different things. Like if you know those like Chinese people that listen to too much heartbreak Mando pop songs are naturally a little bit more emo.
Interesting. Is that your thesis on Chinese Mando pop songs?
It does, because like when I listen to those music, you know, it just makes me feel a little bit more like emo.
Okay.
Think about my past relationships.
Okay.
You know, like it just gets you there.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like,
but it's like the power of music, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I realized that, then I choose to be conscious about what energy am I giving myself based on my music. Like certain moments where like, let's say as a trader, you know, there are certain times where I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit sleepy and I need to get some like adrenaline pumping, I play the instrumental music because it gets me into battle mode.
Okay. It triggers you so much.
Yeah, it gets me into battle mode. But sometimes maybe maybe I had a intense I had a intense workout before I trade.
Yeah.
And I just want to calm myself down. Then I'll play my vibe track. My vibe track will probably have a little bit more vocals. And it's not the rapping kind of vocals, but probably the singing kind of vocals, like Erykah Badu kind of very soul kind of music. So I'm I can sit
the tempo's a little bit slower.
Yeah. Melody is stronger, that kind of music. Or I play jazz music, so I have another one that is jazz beats. So I do that I recognize the power of that, and building my relationship with all of them eventually makes me more, at the same time, because I still hold that competitive part of me. So this part strengthens the aspect of me as a dancer.
Yep.
But most of the time, I go with my rap music. I like my chosen rap music.
Gotcha.
And the club music, clubbing, my kind of clubbing music.
Yeah.
The club music, because I think those friends that have gone to hip hop parties with me in the past 1 year would know when I'm in a hip hop party, I look like I don't have injuries.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Somehow I can dance the whole night without stopping. And they're like, isn't this guy injured? They were like, you're not tired.
Is it the alcohol?
Possibly too.
Okay.
I feel definitely alcohol is, but I don't drink that much too. So I would not, I think with alcohol it helps, but I'm not the kind that drink till I drop kind.
Okay.
So
not anymore.
I dropped too many times So I don't think it's the alcohol, but it's the energy of the people around, because everybody's just so I'm just drawing energy from everybody. Everybody's just vibing.
So you're a leader.
Yes. Because this is something I enjoy. Hey, you are moving, I'm moving. This is how the dance started. You dance, I look at you, we vibe. I struck my shoulders a little bit. It makes you shrug your shoulder a bit. It's like I took the energy from you. It did not come from me.
Do you think it's a very primal interaction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then the music's louder too. And everybody is just there moving with the music. So I feel that whole atmosphere is just giving the energy that I probably don't have if I'm in my own house. Gotcha. So that's why I'm just edit, then I'll look at people, then I just maybe dance with this person, that person, turn dance with this person, that person. So that gives me unlimited energy.
It's like a different persona as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So fuck it.
You have to repeat the question first.
Okay.
Because they just stop the question halfway.
Okay. So, assuming you've been listening to the conversation since the start, and every time Jonas says the word energy, you've been taking a shot, I would assume you'll be properly drunk by now. So let's put some definitions to it. So what is energy? Because I visited the Caltex just now and they don't sell it. So what is energy? What is energy to you?
Wow.
Because I think you said it 7 times already.
I said it from the clubbing point of view. I said it from watching a person point of view.
Because it's so intangible. It's not yes, there is thermodynamics. There is the physical aspect of energy.
Yes.
Energy can be classified as light. Energy can be classified as heat.
Yeah.
So, but I'm assuming when you're in the club, you're not sensing the heat signature from someone.
No,
so what is it? Yeah, to you.
Wow. We are going to this point.
Yeah.
What is it to me?
Is it a collection of things? Is it just a vibe you get from someone that it's supposed to be intangible and it's very difficult to put into words?
Okay, I think the easiest way probably that I can put it is in a way that it's relevant to this conversation is from music. Energy from music. Like the point that you mentioned just now, music is something that affects people's moods and stuff like that. So I think that is what I mean from the energy point of view, because I think it affects how you feel. It affects your emotions. And it's like if you watch somebody do contemporary piece that you probably don't understand the dance,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a story behind it.
Yep.
You feel something like that. It makes you feel something. Like this is something that I heard. I had a friend that passed away when I was 21.
Mm.
He was part of my dance crew then, and at that point of time, we were kind of invited to do a showcase for a recital.
Mm-hmm.
And our finale part of the item, we did a tribute to him.
Mm.
And it was something that only after the show, there were people that came up to us and said, there were people crying.
Mm.
It was a hip hop piece
Mm.
it's a tribute to a guy that passed away. So I think that song kind of hit us in that way that made us move in a way that made people feel that way. And I think that's one way we can explain about energy.
Yeah.
Or like, how some people can listen to great singers and start tearing.
Mm.
It's not from the vocals, it's not from the technicality.
You don't ever consciously thinking to cry.
Yeah, it just hits you in such a way that it affects your emotions.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the ways I can say energy.
Mm.
In one of the ways that it's easier for everyone to understand and easier for me to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you always been very in touch or very in tune with your emotive state? Because it feels as though at least from what I can hear from you, to be a good dancer, you kind of have to know how you're feeling with regards to the music, with regards to how you feel that day. You need to be very in tune with yourself. And being in tune with yourself is knowing how you feel, being honest as well. Yeah, there's that honesty to, okay, I feel shitty today, I feel good today. Have you always been very in tune? And if not, you're shaking your head. If not, so what changed? Yeah. Or is it like I passed 30, I level up and I gain my emotional attunement? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't think it comes with age because I know people who are double my age and are not in tune with their emotions.
I'm not talking about the Prime Minister, but okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't get me into trouble. Yeah. I think where I get to this point was, okay, like just now I said at 21, a friend passed away. Then at 23, has it been 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. When I was 28, another friend committed suicide. So I think these two things definitely helped me. I would not say helped, but it were triggers. They were catalysts to make me need to learn what is going on inside. Because definitely, especially the one 3 years ago, and then COVID hit shortly after.
Yeah.
You have to stay alone at home.
Yep.
You have to deal with the aftermath of this thing.
Yep.
Trying to make sense of what happened.
Yep.
Why are you feeling a certain way?
Yep.
And through that, and of course, understanding, I went to pick up yoga, started listening to a little bit more videos like on quote unquote spirituality, from like Sadhguru or from different therapists, people who are into like psychology. Yeah. So I start to consume all this kind of content, and it definitely made me understand emotions better.
Okay.
That's why just now I can say like anger management. Anger is a physical thing and management is a conscious thing.
Yep.
Which a lot of people are not aware.
Might not always be that naturally aware of it. Yeah.
To them it's like I'm angry and it's they're unconscious and there's no conscious management of it. That's how fights happen between people because the emotion just act up and they don't realize what is going on. Sometimes certain words come out. Yeah, because there's no management.
But it's also something that A, it's very natural. B, you might not know that you're feeling it. And C, it's nobody teaches you these things. Yeah. Unless you get into altercation, you're being sent for anger management thing. Yes. And someone tells you, hey, you actually don't have to look at it like that. Yes. You can look at it from, it's actually two separate things. And it's two separate things and people can understand the framework of it. So that is, interesting. Okay.
This is something that I think is not taught enough. Even nowadays, definitely I think nowadays it got better with the whole social media because of COVID, I would think.
Okay.
Because people are going nuts.
Sure.
And people are not able to go out.
Yep.
So everybody's dopamine levels and all the things are at levels that it was not at previously. And they are consuming more things at home, which also kind of like affects their dopamine levels. They are not comfortable with sitting with themselves. Thoughts start coming in because you're working from home.
Yep.
There's no traveling time. You're not meeting colleagues.
It's a whole can of worms, actually.
Yeah. So when that happens, a lot of people don't know how to deal with this, and that's where there's an influx of therapies.
Yep.
This kind of content start flooding social media, and it gives people more perspective about these kind of things. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing that people are being a bit more aware about it. Of course, I think there are some bad things that it does to society. Of course, with this much information, because people kind of misuse it.
Interesting. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I have mental health problems, so you can't do this to me.
Oh, I got you. So it's like a defensive.
Yeah, like you have a shield all of a sudden. Like it's almost like, okay, let's use my back condition as an example.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is how I like to explain it to a person.
Yeah.
Who probably did not have any understanding of this kind of emotional side of things.
Yep.
Take it as I have a back injury because of maybe physically I was not as strong to face certain kind of impacts that I let my body face as a dancer.
Fair. Yep.
Right? Which probably every other dancer around me was doing similar things. Right? Just that maybe I'm skinnier.
Yeah.
Maybe my bone density is
just
low.
Biology.
Yeah, biology, muscles weaker, whatever. Bam, my body cannot take impact, got an injury that will last for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Another person might face that and will recover in a month.
Fair, yeah.
But that does not mean that the person was not injured before, and that does not mean that I will recover.
Yep.
So with that in mind, people take this because at least physical injuries can be scanned.
Yeah.
Like the person 1 month later, so I still have a back problem, it's scanned. Nothing is wrong.
So it's more psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like mine, for example, people say you can recover. Okay, you pay for my MRI scan to see whether I recover or not. There is physical proof.
There's like metrics basically.
Yes.
There's like a framework of, if you're able to do this, you're able to do this in a competent manner without pain, without any sharp pain, you have quote unquote recovered.
Yes.
But actually living with it could be a totally different thing. Yeah.
But when it comes to emotional side of things, like you face something that affected you.
Yep.
People are just, trauma. I have a trauma now.
This is a very, what's the word for it? It's a very juvenile understanding of it. Yeah.
I have a trauma now.
Yep.
I have... like how last time, I don't know if you did this before, you face a certain pain in your body, you don't understand, you go and Google it, then you suspect that you got like some severe injury.
They tell you this is a symptom of cancer. I was like, what the fuck?
I'm ruined, I'm screwed. I think that's the effect that it's doing to people. And I was like, okay, I feel, when I think about this thing, I feel a wave of like helplessness and weakness. I have depression. Yeah. I'm like, so... Yeah, you ask your parent about the most loved ex they ever had. They also will feel sad one, but that does not mean they have depression. It just means that it was something that they regret.
Yep.
Or it was a tough breakup, or something like that. Then when you think about it, you're gonna feel sad.
It's human.
Exactly. Yeah. But people just take it into like, I have depression now. I have mental problems. I have this. I have that. As much as I try not to. To me, people who have legit problems will not say that they have problems. Don't like to say that they have problems. I don't like to tell people I'm injured. I don't like to tell people that because of my friend having to commit suicide, I probably have a certain degree of depression that I need to deal with that make me view life differently.
Yep.
It's not something like go out and like to tell people. But I realize that a lot of people like to use it to their advantage.
Yep.
I have depression.
Is it crippling?
You can't talk to me like that.
Okay.
You can't oh, I sprained my back. Let me take the priority seat on MRT. I'm like,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So that's why.
So it's a very strange, sadly, a very human way of misuse of certain information.
Yeah, but I think that's a human problem rather than an information problem. It's a good thing I think this information is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious to know is, because I do get the sense that we prioritize, or we tend to favor more positive emotions than negative ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel that the negative ones, quote unquote, the negative ones, are actually the more important ones, because they tell you what, if you don't get a handle on it, if you don't recognize it, if you're not aware of it, those are the ones that could be a lot more insidious, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it feels like society, to live in civil society, you kind of have to have this mass of positivity. Like, it's very, like, it's a lot easier to share something that more positive than negative.
Yep.
Yeah. So I do get the sense that there is a favorability of more positive emotions than the negative ones. Yeah.
So is that a question, or you want me to just have a discussion?
No,
on
I'm
this
curious about that. Yeah. Do you feel that way, or?
My view on it is, as much as possible, I try not to be the starting point of giving out negative.
You don't trauma dump, basically.
I try my best.
Gotcha,
because it's like, if we are going to the point of energy again, sometimes telling you certain things from my perspective that is a horrible experience from my view.
Yep.
If the recipient of this knowledge or information is not careful, it makes the person feel miserable too, or horrible too.
Yep.
And that kind of passes along, so it's like I started giving out this energy that is just gonna keep passing around.
Yep.
So I do understand why. Wow, my knuckle crack is so loud.
And you heard it.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah, just to emphasize the point.
Yeah. So I do agree that positivity, it's more important to be conscious about that. But at the same time, like your point is, people are also avoiding the difficult conversations, but necessary conversations. It's like positive feeling, negative feeling. Bubble tea makes you feel good because it's sweet. It's enjoyable. But you don't realize that you have a problem until ants start crawling up your pee. Because we put it in a physical condition again that people understand. Yep. It's good to drink your bubble tea, eat your ice cream. I'm not a health advocate. I'm not saying that, but just using it as an example. Yep. But people tend to not realize certain things about the build up of negative things.
It's accumulative
until it becomes something so big that you can't avoid.
And it manifests into that, because that is a manifestation of the years of bubble tea that you have, and you're not doing any exercise, you're not even cutting down on it. Yeah.
So it's about, and in that aspect, it's the same thing that what's going on in your mind. If you are not aware of the things that negatively trigger you, you will come to realize it when it accumulates enough. It could be lashing out at your wife. It could be storming out of your car and scolding the next person and starting a fight.
I've seen a lot of those online.
Right. Yeah. So
yeah, very puzzling, but sure.
Yeah. And that is a good example of it, because they are probably not aware of the things that trigger them negatively. So, but it's very difficult, because facing a lot, if we're going to certain topic about therapy and psychology, which I'm no expert of,
you're just a dancer.
I'm just a dancer.
Disclaimer.
I'm just a dancer.
You're an accountant and a wushu person as well.
and I'm a nerd, so I just happen to like to read this kind of content, So I'm not an expert. I just consume this content and sharing what I learned from this content. But it's the negative emotions that come from a lot of things that you don't accept. You develop anger from things that didn't go your way and you are frustrated that it didn't go your way and you don't understand why it didn't go your way at the time where you were younger.
Okay.
And the root of it is not accepting it. That's why when you grow older, that's why you see it kind of links to things like I'm not in the fault. You just don't accept. Then you just get angry. It's you, because that's how the root of things are. Mm-hmm. But when you want to go into this kind of topics, it's very difficult for people to face because it's not about facing them as who they are now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about when it comes to trauma, like what I've learned from it is it comes from the time where you face that thing.
So it's like a breakaway point, like basically. It's a moment of impact, like a scar is formed and it breaks away.
Yeah, so it stays in your body that will act up. So that's why you see people who act up out of negative emotions, be it anger, mostly, okay, let's just use anger, because anger is one of the most clear one.
Yeah.
You behave like a child.
Mm.
You behave like a kid throwing a tantrum, but now with adult body.
Yep.
So with adult knowledge of like vulgarities and like physical things.
So it's like a weird hybrid.
But you are a child. Mm. And with a 3-year-old nephew, I'm seeing like this is how adults who are angry that don't understand how they behave exactly. So it's in that way that people don't like to have these conversations because it's very difficult.
Uncomfortable as well.
Very, very uncomfortable. And you have to accept a certain reality that you used to take as an injustice for a big part of your life.
What do you mean by that?
Like, it could, like, because at that point of time, let's just say an example of somebody, this is just a very like random example. Somebody knocking into you when you need to go to somewhere important that make you go there late.
Yeah.
And make you like lose an important opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Understandable for this person to be angry.
Yep. Very natural also. Yeah.
But so in that case, you would just view this whole thing as I'm the one who is being
offended.
I'm the one that is at a loss here. I didn't do anything wrong. This person is the one that at fault. So there's when you view this thing is you just feel injustice and this person is at fault.
Yeah.
But maybe when you understand this thing later, maybe this person is rushing to the hospital to visit his dying. Like,
it's a myriad of reasons as to why.
And then you realize that, then you just like, but this opportunity could have changed your life. So do you want to forgive this person now? You know, like it's this thing where you just like, it's you know, when you think about it like that, because we are both not involved in this situation, so it's easier to say, okay.
Yeah. But in the heat of the moment, when it happens, when the person's like running behind you already and you're on the floor, then do you shout at the person? Do you
like, okay, why are you running?
Yeah.
Like you don't know. And these things, let's say it happened to you when you were younger, which happens a lot to kids in primary school, or you know, like when you're just dealing with other kids who have no conscious idea of what they are doing.
You might not even remember.
Exactly. You might not remember it in your memory, but your body remembers.
The body's pretty amazing then.
Yes,
it
does.
All these things.
Yes, it does. So it remembers the certain kind of ways that you were treated in ways that you remember as and different bodies deal with it differently. So certain people, it's like the same example I give as an injury.
Yep.
Some people bodies remember it for life. Some people just forget it after the next week.
Yep.
You know, then this doesn't bother them
until perhaps a similar incident happened.
Then it latches on. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think this kind of negative emotions are things that people avoid, but it's necessary. Yeah. But it's like I read a book. I think the book is called Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Okay.
By Mark Manson.
Yeah.
So I think one of the most mind-boggling part that he mentioned was wanting positive experience is a negative experience.
What do you take away from that?
Accepting negative experiences is a positive experience. Something like that.
So it's like a reverse of what people think it's true.
Yes, because if you want positive experiences, you are chasing something positive.
So that is the framework. You're chasing the positive. Okay.
Something like that. Because it's been a while since I read the book, but this line kind of like
It's stuck with you.
It's the line that everybody that reads the book, like this is the line that they remembers. Yeah, you know, because when the line came in, you just sit there, you're just like, wait a minute, I need some time to process this.
Do you think when he wrote the line, it's like he sat back and it's like, not bad.
Yeah, probably, because like the line kind of like, it's the line that like, you see, it's been I think years since I read the book, but that line just stuck in my head for so long. Then I said another person bought that book, then you see maybe in like few days later that line appears in their story. You know, like, so
do you agree with it?
Like it kind of like emphasizes the point that I said just now, like accepting negative experiences is a positive one, because it's very difficult for people to accept negative experiences. And chasing positive experience is like chasing dopamine, and it never ends. It never ends, you know? So it makes you have a lack because you are constantly chasing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's something that's very interesting, that kind of like also changed the way I view things.
And it resonates with you.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
So you mentioned the word programming before. And I think it's interesting in the context of what we're talking about. So what I'm curious to know is, has there been something in the context of programming and I guess certain scripts that you have since young, has there been something that you have to consciously unprogram from yourself?
Ooh. Hope my family doesn't listen to this.
Probably not.
Yeah, my parents are not gonna. They're like, talk about dance. Okay, talk about positive, negative. They're not gonna talk about us. Okay,
that's a brilliant segue.
Yeah, this is the real thing that we're talking about. I think in terms of programming, for me, at the same time, when I was younger, it seemed like that to me. Because from my perspective, so everything that I say from here is my perspective, and it could be inaccurate from if you're viewing it from a third person point of view.
Yeah.
Because I was the youngest son at home, and I was the most kind of like obedient one.
Okay.
Like my elder two brothers were a little bit more rebellious. Yeah, because when they were younger, both my parents had to work, so they kind of stayed with my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I think my grandmother was probably a lot more lenient with them.
Yep.
So, but when I was born, both my parents, my mother quit her work to kind of like take care of me at home.
Yep.
So I had a little bit more attention compared to them. So definitely I would feel like that probably also contributed to a little bit of difference of treatment from their perspective, because I did have a conversation with them I think a couple of years back, and they said like, no, you are the one that you were the one that was treated the best. I was like, I was the one that was treated the best. Like from my perspective.
Interesting.
So that's why I say you need to view this from different perspective.
Before you go on, do you think both things could be true?
Yes.
Okay.
From our perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what made us.
So crazy. So things could be true, things could be false, but it's just what you remember and what you feel ultimately that stays with you.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So like from my perspective was because
Oh,
boys at home, definitely there will be like tussles and like kind of like quarrels, or kind of like, just try to like ego, testosterone come out, and then you just fight. And I'm the youngest.
Yep.
I'm the smallest. So most of the fights, like I felt like sometimes maybe I was the one who triggered it. Now that I think about it, possible. Okay, we'll never know.
Yep.
But most of the fights that happened between me and my siblings, my parents came in and said like, they asked me to stop it. And sometimes I felt like I was not the one at fault.
Yeah.
But I was the one asked to stop it.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like,
they're blaming you?
Yeah, I felt like is it because like my perspective was, it's easier to control me than control them, So and like that kind of made me like, I think that made me want to be a rebel. That made me grow up wanting to like resist, like not to be so obedient.
Yep.
Because I was like, being obedient just makes me get bullied. Because if a fight happens, the obedient one is the one that gets stopped.
Yep.
Because the fiercer one cannot be stopped.
Yep.
So I was like, then why be the obedient one?
Yeah.
I will be a pushover.
Well,
You know,
it makes a lot of sense now.
so you see, when I say this, I kind of sound like a kid saying it.
Yep.
Because I'm like bringing something from my childhood that's something that's probably, when I connect back to it, like the younger me comes like, no fair what.
It's like if you put it up on this pedestal objectivity, you let 5 people look at it. Yeah, it will sound very childish, but to you, it feels completely natural.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but not a lot of people are able to detach and realize it's like, as I say, I'm like, I sound like a freaking kid now, but not a lot of people have this. And like another one is, I remember this so clearly today. That's why it affected me for so many years. I remember when I was younger, me and my mother, we went to Econ Minimart. It used to be the 7-Eleven of our Tampines area.
Okay.
Like the Econ Minimart. I don't know whether they are still there anymore. I don't see anymore.
So it's just like a mini mart that sells a variety of things, lah.
Yes,
gotcha.
yes. So she went in as a mother to buy home stuff. I was with her, and then I saw this pink color ring that I wanted to buy to give my primary school girlfriend.
Fantastic.
Whatever that girlfriend means, you're just in primary school, whatever that was.
Hey, you had a very limited scope of what the world is. That's the world to you back then.
So I was like, let's buy this for her. She should be happy.
Yep.
But I had no money, and I know my mother is not gonna buy it for me.
You know your mom's not gonna buy it.
She's like, no.
Okay.
Don't it's like she's buying probably like milk, bread, all the adult things.
To feed you, to feed the family.
Everyone at home, like detergent or whatever. I don't even know what she was buying back then. But now I think about should be all these things.
Why you wanted the ring, lah?
Why would you go there, right?
Yeah.
I wanted the ring. So it's like act of criminal activity. Yeah, I stole the ring.
Okay.
I stole the ring.
Okay.
And then my mother found the ring. Then she was like, so she gave me one round of scolding and she said like, don't waste money buying things that are not important. If not, you have no money to eat. So you want to buy things that you want? No, your money should be spent on things that you need. If not, you will have no money to eat. And that thing stuck with me all the way that if I want to buy things I want, I just don't eat.
Wow. It's like an auto-run script.
Yeah, as a kid, it's just like you want to buy things you want, don't eat. Because the money they used to eat can be used to buy things that you want.
Do you think it was like it's just like a statement she said and probably forgot about it? Wow.
She forgot about it.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I realized when my eldest brother brought me to a seminar. I think it was called Millionaire Mindset Intensive or something. So they kind of like talk to you about your relationship with money. So the question was, what is one thing that you remembered from your childhood about money that you think does not serve you now?
Yep.
And I was just like, first thing that came to mind was that incident. Then I wrote it down. Then I wrote it down, I was just like, it all makes sense now. Now I know why am I always starving myself.
The world is a lot clearer now.
Yeah, like a lot of my allowance come just like, okay, I want to buy this thing, I just like portion. So it became like portion, okay, this is the amount of money I used to eat. I want to buy this. Let's minus the money from my eating money to buy the stuff.
It feels cognitively natural to you, but perhaps when as I said, putting it on the pedestal objectivity, if you talk to someone about it, then you'll be like, hey, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Then you realize like that there is like a you don't even consciously think about doing it.
Yes.
You're just naturally doing it. Yeah.
And that's what I think represents the word programming. Because
it just runs automatically.
You don't realize until somebody make you realize it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But it feels as though because it's so naturally, it's what is natural to you is not natural to me, and vice versa. It can only be known or be made aware when, let's say, someone sees something, or it's like it triggers externally, and then it makes you reflect. Do you feel like that's the pattern, or is it more like a copious amount of internal work, and you realize, hey, maybe this something someone said, and it connects. Like there's a lot of clarity there. Yeah,
I think internal work is a more controlled way of getting to this outcome.
Okay.
Because something somebody said might not click with you until you have a certain level of awareness.
Okay.
It's like somebody coming to you and me, like me coming to you to talk about, like you coming to me and talk about,
it keeps changing.
Right, I was just like, what's a good way? You coming to me to talk about some realization about the way I draw.
Okay.
And I just don't realize it. Because I don't have that awareness of what you are talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, in fact, I might feel offended. Because I don't understand what you're talking about. I feel like you're just attacking me or saying I'm not good enough.
Yep.
You know? So that's why I say the external one it's kind of like a, you know, you have to be lucky lah.
Lucky.
He has to be somebody that you probably value the opinion of. You know, so it's too many factors that you cannot control.
But what can you control?
Internal work. Yeah, choosing to. But then again, not everybody goes into internal work just by themselves. You know, because it's not something that is taught.
I would assume it's also not something you start all from the same place.
Yeah, you know, like
because based on what you share, and thank you for sharing, like you mentioned, like what happened to your friends, and that was the in a sense like a triggering point.
Yep.
And that is a really heavy place to start from.
Yep.
But not everybody can start from there. Yeah. So with all the different starting points, and I'd assume it's not like a linear journey as well. You don't get enlightened and you float. It's more like you navigate the internal world that you have, and you figure out what color of paint it is.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Yeah.
What does it feel like? What events from your past that someone said something, how does it show today? These are all the things that on the outside, there is no progression bar.
Yeah,
there is no. You can't tell anything. Yeah. It's not like you walk up to someone, you talk, and you get a sense of all these things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous because, like, for example, I think I remember it's like, okay, let's just talk about this point. Like Jim Carrey has a video that he mentioned something about depression is your body telling you that he doesn't want to play this character anymore. He's not playing the character that he should be playing or something like that. And, you know, you can see people in the comments are like, this guy has taken too much drugs. This guy is already bonkers. You should not be listening to him. And there are people who can listen to them and be like, hey, I relate to this statement.
Yeah.
You know, and then they go and discover further. So this is an example of, lucky you've listened to something that hits you and makes you start this journey.
Yep.
Because some people just like, this guy is mad. Just talking nonsense.
Do you think both things could be true? Yeah.
It could be. Because I have a friend that likes to have this kind of conversation with me. He said like his friends don't understand this kind of topic about mental health, trauma and stuff because he's recovering from certain traumatic experience in his childhood. So he likes to talk to me about things like that. And his friends would be like, you should just move on already. Just move on, Then he gets very agitated, like, you think I don't want to move on? You think I don't want to move on?
Yep.
And when he came to me and I told him like, we should not get angry or frustrated when people say that, because we should be happy that these people don't have to start this journey. Interesting. Because nothing hit them in such a way that they need to discover these things. It's like without my injury, I would not see the importance of mobility. Exactly. Flexibility, like strengthening, like recovery, I would not. Yep. Until you lose that. Yes. Yeah. Or something bad enough happens and it kind of puts things into perspective. Yes. Yeah. Like, of course, there are many people who, due to, they sit down all the time, they have lower back issues, they have similar issues as mine, but it does not get to the point where it affected them from functioning normally. Yeah. So they did not see the need to deal with it. Yeah. Because they could still function. Yeah. So I told him, I'm not saying that those friends don't have things that, trigger them. They don't have things that make them angry. They don't have things that make them lose control of themselves. But they can function. So maybe that's why they never see the need to understand these things and do this work. You are in a recovery phase. It's like somebody telling me when I got my injury 8 years ago, where when it acts up, I could not walk for 3 days and just tell me, go and just go and apply a job and go and work. And I'm just like, what if my injury act up and I cannot go to work for 3 days in a row and just tell my boss, my back injury act up? Who would hire me then? So it's not something that they understand. And it's not something that people nowadays understand, because I'm still doing a lot of daily work on my physical body just to keep it functioning.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't understand why I need to do this on a daily basis.
Yep.
Because they don't have this issue.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, oh, you all don't understand, I take the approach of, okay, I'm glad that you don't have this issue.
Yeah, but it's also the disconnect at which both realities can exist at the same time. Because if I never had a back injury before, how am I able to empathize with someone who has a chronic back injury unless they actually tell me about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very easy to brush away or to brush off something that I have no conception of.
Yes.
Yeah, because as great as the mind is, it is very difficult to actually empathize and to actually physically feel it and to feel the repercussions of that thing several years down the road.
Yeah.
It's such a high level abstract. It's very abstract in a sense. Yeah, until actually I see it. Actually, it's someone close to me and they share me, oh, actually I have to do this routine 30 minutes every day just to be able to walk fine. Yeah, that is a very, very difficult thing for you. And this is, to me, only applicable if it's someone you really care about. If it's someone close within your circle, day-to-day friends you see, not on the regular as well, it's very easy to brush things off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because their reality doesn't matter to you. So
Exactly.
it has no impact to you whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, like people can be like, oh, let's say Twitch
Yep.
committed suicide. You know,
Yep.
people can be like sharing. But who would, those that understand this topic would actually
It
look
hits
at this
differently. Yeah.
it hits differently. But
Yeah.
for most people, oh, it's just another guy that committed suicide, you know?
Yeah.
It does not matter to most people.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. So it's like for example, Black Panther.
Yep.
The
Chadwick Boseman.
yeah, the recent one,
Yep.
the recent movie.
Yep. Did you like it?
There are a lot of people. there are a lot of mixed reviews about it. I said,
Okay.
like, for somebody that understand what it's like to lose somebody, this movie hits that aspect. But when it comes to looking at it from like a movie point of view, of course there are a lot of things to be discussed. But the way that it hits people who understand this thing, I'm like, okay, that one. So I will have a little bit biasness because I understand
Yep.
losing people in a way that you don't expect.
Yeah.
So
It's always unexpected.
that is true.
It's always
That is true. That is a very true point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you have, let's say you have a terminal illness, it is
Yeah.
still unexpected.
Yeah.
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 It's always.
So I guess it's something like when I told I said that to somebody and they that person didn't know that I lost a friend. Then this person made a joke about another person that did a piece about somebody that he or she lost. Like, is it like that person? I just like, yeah, you know, I just like, because you don't understand. Let's not bring you into this and like let me.
It's not their job to understand as well.
I don't have to be like, hey, you know, this feels horrible.
It's not like you start the conversation. Hey, my name is Jonas. Hey, I lost my friends to this. Hey, I've been going through. Yeah, nobody does that.
Yeah. So and like I said just now, this makes me pull this person into my misery, because if I want to talk about this thing, you know, and people be like, oh, I feel bad, you know.
Yeah.
And like I started it.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. I just did it like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does it mean that you have to be, I think, conscious and intentional with, I think, what you speak as well to different people to kind of get a sense of, especially let's say if it's a stranger you have never met before. Yeah, you kind of have to get a sense of how, I guess, not to just dump your whole story on them. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Definitely, I think that's why I think after learning all these things, it becomes harder for me to make small talk.
What would you define as small talk? Is it the weather thing?
Weather lah, what you do for a living lah, when you're getting married lah, you know, like
that's one of my questions. When you
you know, like this is like it's very.
Is it trivial?
No, it's not like I cannot hold a conversation, but like it becomes like it feels like we're having a conversation just for the sake of having a conversation, you know?
Okay.
Because this is another reason why, because when we have conversations, sometimes people start to have different opinion. And especially I tend to have a different opinion from a lot of people.
Okay.
Because I think, being I choose to, like you see, first thing I say, I'm a dancer. I don't say what I do for a living. I talk about it as something that, like, I'm not doing it for achievement, I'm not doing it for recognition, but I do it because this is something that makes me function better as a human being. Like this way of viewing life is very different from a lot of people. A lot of people say, okay, you should be focusing on about what you are doing to make money so that you can plan for a future, that to get married, to have kids. So it's like, so in a sense, generally my view on things from a fundamental living point of view is very different.
Okay.
Especially also because of, two friends living when I was in my 20s. It does give me a more, it could be pessimistic by some, but to me it's realistic in a way that you never know when you will go. Yeah. So like, but they'll be like, oh, you will live until your 70s, 80s. So when at that point of time, you would want to regret not having grandchildren. I'm like,
so optimistic.
So optimistic that you will live to a point where you will see grandchildren. Like, but yeah, I could be pessimistic. So that's why I say I would sound pessimistic to them.
Yeah.
So in that sense, when we have small talk and it leads into a conversation, most of the time you reach to a point where they will not understand my point of view.
Yeah.
And then it becomes uncomfortable because without understanding, and most people that go this route don't spend a lot of time understanding this stuff about negative emotions. You don't have to, like, you can be right, I can be right. Like the point that we mentioned, like, I may not like your dance, but you're still good. Like, I'm like more embracing in that sense of,
or like,
your reality.
Both realities could be true, or there's like multiple points here.
But a lot of people cannot do that.
Interesting.
Their reality is the reality.
I mean, it's not wrong. I mean, you could have your weird theories about, let's say, if you die, the whole world just collapse. Yeah, sure. You have your pet theory.
But I realize that it gets to a point where this is how I connect with people nowadays. I will see whether you are okay to accept a different reality. Like
what does that mean in practice, though?
You are more open-minded, whether you are open-minded or not, or you are just very like stubborn and like your way is the way. If I realize you are like that, I will not have much conversations with
Interesting.
you. Because I know we are going to go into a disagreement eventually.
There'll be an impasse.
Yes, and you are not going to accept the way I view things, and you will try to impose your reality on me, which I am capable of retaliating in that sense. Yeah. And it will be uncomfortable because it's a clashing of reality, which is unnecessary. So if it's somebody that, through certain starting, the small talk is allowing of like differences.
Just sensing things.
Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, then I can talk more about how I view things. If not, I will just, not to be rude, I will just talk things that it's within what you understand.
Yeah.
And what you accept.
Yep.
While being real. And then I'll end the conversation as soon as I can.
It's also not treating it as a point of arrogance, right?
People could. But like from my point of view, is I don't see myself as, unless at every conversation I feel like there's a need for me to make you understand me.
Is there?
Then no, there is no need for me to make you understand. So that's why but if I see that need, then everybody, because some people, then you can make people understand you. Then I'm like, but why do I need to make you understand me?
Yep.
Because that if you're understanding about like human psychology and stuff, you would have to, in a sense, allow a different perspective into your life.
Yeah.
You accept a possibility of something that's out of what you believe into your life, which may not be beneficial to the way you live. So I don't see a need to do that to you.
Yep.
It's like me telling you, like, it's like it's almost like a vegetarian telling a meat lover like you should eat less meat because like you are healthier.
Yeah.
And then if you accept that, that means you're accepting that you are living unhealthily in that sense. You see?
Yep.
So
Things are oftentimes interconnected.
So rather than understanding you and accepting you, I just reject the notion of eating vegetarian makes me healthier. Because accepting that, allowing that into my world is me accepting that I am living unhealthily.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the reason why most people kind of don't allow another worldview in.
And it also kind of means that there has to be some element of change,
Yeah.
And I guess changing one's, routines, what they want to do.
It's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah. Especially, let's say, the vegetarian and the meat level one.
Yeah.
Assuming it's as clear cut and as binary as that, then if it's unhealthy, then I guess people will want to be healthy, then you kind of have to change your lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry mom, but yeah, this conversation just happened recently also. Yeah. Like we were having a conversation about like weddings and stuff, and then we were talking about the dinner between my family and my girlfriend's family. And she's like, okay, now we find a place that can do vegetarian meals. Then I'm just like, Mom, our family is okay to eat vegetarian because you are vegetarian. But don't make the other family eat vegetarian.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And because she's a very like strict Buddhist,
yeah,
she believes in like a lot of things of the Buddhist teachings. She just kind of like got upset. I'm doing it so that on your wedding, the dinner, you got more karma blessing. Then I'm just like, I'm doing this for your karma blessing. And it's like, you see my point? To her, it's like,
it's for your good. Yeah.
So there's no need for me to be like, yeah.
Sure.
So I'm just like, then my brother comes up. So context with the story, my brother talk stuff, my mother easier to just like keep quiet. Yeah lah, our family eat vegetarian can already lah, their family eat me lah. Then she like, keep quiet. Settle. Conversation ended.
You don't have to present your thesis as to why
yeah, because she will like because I've always been more accepting of her views and opinions.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just I'm more quiet. I go temper with her here and there. So to her it's like, let me like impose this on you, man.
Yep.
Like for example, I also told her same part of the conversation. Like I said, like I wanna like move out of Singapore to live, and she's like, why do I stay in Singapore? And I'm like, Singapore has its goods, has its good parts, but I prefer not to stay in Singapore. Like there are places that I prefer to live. Then, like rather than seeking to understand, her reply straight was, in Chinese literally, 身在福中不知福, which literally means you are not, I
don't know.
You don't understand that?
I don't understand.
That means you are in, you are living.
You're moving your shoulders a lot. I have no idea what that is.
No, because I'm trying to translate it.
So you translate with your body.
I'm a dancer.
Okay,
I express myself. Like that means I'm having difficulty. I'm drawing strength from my emotions to try to explain this to you.
What does it mean though?
It means you are not recognizing the fortune that you have.
Interesting. Okay.
So to her, it's like I'm disregarding the good parts about Singapore.
Or what they have done for you.
Like I have lived in Singapore.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in Singapore, so I don't recognize the good parts of Singapore.
Yeah.
Like to her, it's just like, that's why you want to, like, when you say that, it's as if I'm an ignorant person.
Yeah.
That's
the implication.
It's just like, yeah, you are living in a good place and then you don't know. Yeah, like, I know. If I were to have kids and, considering about settling down and stuff like that, obviously choosing Philippines or Malaysia over Singapore will have different, like,
with its own implications.
Yeah, because Singapore is safer, the education, as much as I can have a conversation about that, but, it's probably more structured than overseas, So, but I said, I'm not, as of now, I don't think I'm going to have kids. So I want to settle down in a place where I like living there more with the people and stuff like that, Then she's like, You know, to her it's like I'm just not recognizing the fortune I'm in. Same thing. Then my same brother comes out. KL good. House cheap, food good, everything there. Singapore also have, but they're cheaper. Good. Good. KL, nice place. Want to come back Singapore, take bus, few hours reach, one flight, 1 hour reach. Good. Go KL, stay good. Then my mother keep quiet. I'm just like, see, example of so many things that we talked about just now also. Yeah.
But that's the funny thing about conversation, or even like speech in general. Like speaking to people. It's oftentimes it could be premeditated, like you're selecting what to speak, but ultimately you're saying, let's say, one sentence, and it could be interpreted a lot of ways. It could be taken a lot of ways as well. And you have no idea what the person was thinking when they're making the sentence.
Yeah.
So that's the very interesting thing, because let's say when your mom said that, it could be interpreted so many ways, depending on how you're feeling that day, who you are at this point, where you are at this point,
how she views me.
Exactly. There's so many things, and you don't have the backstory and you don't have the context for it. And it can be so easily misinterpreted. And it could be, as what we talk about, like the breakaway point for another thing 10 years down the road.
Yes.
Yeah. So I oftentimes find it fascinating how people communicate.
Yeah.
It's like you have no context.
Yeah.
You have no backstory. Yes, it's your mum, sure. But the parental relationship between, let's say, a child and the parent oftentimes is a bit skewed as well.
Yes.
It's the power dynamics they provide for you. They expect, quote unquote, a certain level of, I guess, agreeableness.
Yes.
Yeah, because, I mean, you are born from them, but I don't know. I think being a parent and being a child, like the relationship between that and, let's say, friends or even partners, I think it's so different.
Yeah,
it's always a very weird parent and child dynamics, even let's say within all your brothers. I'm sure your brothers, between you and your brothers, have a certain dynamic as well.
Yeah.
Your mom and your dad, certain dynamic as well. The context of the family, internally, one dynamic, outer family, again.
Yeah.
So it's oftentimes a wonder how people communicate.
Yeah.
It can be interpreted so many ways. So why that one particular way and you hang on to it? Yeah. So oftentimes it's quite fascinating.
And tiring. Yeah. That's why I guess like I turned from an extroverted person to a more introverted person, because I kind of like conversation with you is gonna be tiring. Conversation with you is gonna be tiring.
Yep.
Conversation with most people are gonna be tiring. I'm just like, but I'm gonna seem like antisocial now, you know. But I'm like, but I'm not antisocial. I like to go to hip hop parties.
Yep.
You know, like I am sociable with different kind of communication. You know, like just general conversation, not.
So I'm curious to know, at this point, what motivates you to continue what you're doing?
To continue what I'm doing, I would say, for people that I value, which are not many, whenever I can interact with them, I can be the best self I am. That's what I guess motivates, like pushes me ahead.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what that best self looks like?
It's not a fixed point.
Okay.
It's not a fixed point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a fixed point. So it's a constant. I accept that it can only get better and better. Yeah. So that's why it's kind of like in overall there's a lot of different factors. It's like I don't want to be a guy that has money but am miserable. Have money and don't have time, for example.
Oh, that's a terrible combination.
Right?
Yeah.
So like when people around me need me, I'm like, I got money for you, but I don't have time for you.
Oh, to me in the worst way, like I thought you have $1 million, but you have a month to live or something like that. That's terrible as well.
Yes, exactly. That's another point. Yep. So it's I guess that's the thing, that you can't just have one component now. Which probably when a lot of people are younger or still till today value money as number one. Yeah. So that's why I cannot have conversations with a lot of people. I'm like, it's not like I don't value money. But if I were to have this conversation, it seems like you don't value life.
I think valuing life is such a strange conversation to even start having. What does that mean though? Yeah, because it leads to a lot more things. Because I think money is being thought of as
the fuel to make your life continue.
Yeah, because I don't know if people think they actually want money or they want the things that money could bring.
Yeah.
Because I think those are you want money. Yeah. Okay, you have $2 million.
Yeah.
Unless you're using it to buy something, to purchase things, it's technically useless. Yeah. Because it is ultimately used to get things.
Yep.
So I don't know if people are thinking in that terms, I want a house, I want a car, which is tangible materialistic aspects, as opposed to I want to have a better relationship with myself. That's so what a very strange dichotomy of things. Like one thing you can sit in, you can drive people. It's a great experience. But another one, it's uncomfortable as fuck because you have to uncover things that were done to you intentionally, unintentionally. You have to deal with yourself. Yeah. And you can't show people, I've actually done this well, or I've get this amount of achievements in my life.
Yeah. But I guess it's also because you don't hear people, I mean, actually they do, but it's not branded that way, that people that don't have a sound relationship with themselves, that you can have, it's like having money, but not a sound relationship with yourself. This story is not as bad as you have a sound relationship with yourself, but you have no money. You see? Because they will be like, I can have money, I have not. Because the not sound relationship part with yourself can be a very big range.
Yep.
You can be an abusive husband.
I think you mentioned about still functional. Yeah.
You can be an abusive father. You can abuse your children.
Yeah.
But most things, if it does not go out on the news, you don't know.
It's like the legality of things.
Yeah, on paper, they're having a good life. You know? But, okay, sound relationship, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows you have a sound relationship? The only thing I can say is...
maybe you're glowing.
Yeah, but like... go Haidilao, I cannot afford. Your life sucks. This guy, every month change car, stay bungalow, maybe abuse his parents and kids and wife, but don't know.
But it brings to mind the idea of the monk and like a very successful businessman.
Yeah.
It kind of fits the comparison you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, this specific point, I think I also read a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Okay. What is it about?
It's about a lawyer, a very successful lawyer, who I think he has a understudy. And it reached to a point in his life where he kind of like collapsed mentally, you know? And then he just like left the whole like being a lawyer, and then he just went to search for answers in a sense.
Yep.
Then like years later, his understudy is at his position years ago in terms of success.
Yep.
And then this guy appears back as a monk. Right? And then, so rather than just telling him to be like him, he started to teach him about different things that are more important rather than just money. He's not telling him to like, okay, be like me, throw away your job, go and live like a monk like me, but like how to balance out your life.
Yeah.
So that there are things in your life that you should be valuing as well.
Yep.
On top of just money, because you don't realize that if you are not taking care of all these things, you are going to become like me. It's potentially that you will have a emotional collapse one day, and you might just, and this snap might be worse. We don't know the severity of the snaps, because some people snap, they just go nuts. They just end their life out of nowhere,
Yeah.
So some people just snap and then they recover. So he just knows that if you continue on this path, it's not good. So you should do certain practices to maintain yourself, which I think it's a good book. That's why, like you mentioned, the monk and money and stuff like that. So it's not about just telling people to don't value money. Whatever I said just now, it's not saying that I don't value money. I just value a balance of things, which it's harder to achieve all at once. But I think this is the way I want to live. Yeah. Rather than just, a lot of people say I make money, then I can do all these things. That's a story that a lot of people sell you. Go and make your money, get your financial freedom, whatever, then you do the things that you like. I'm like, yeah, but if you're 50, like what if I want to compete?
Yeah.
Like what if like now I realize that what I'd like to do is competing. I'm 50.
Yep.
You want me to compete with a 20-year-old? I'm 31, compete with 20 still okay. Yeah, I'm not saying there are no 50-year-olds competing with 20-year-olds, but yeah, you get what I mean.
I think unfortunately things dealing with the future and about, I guess, internal work, it allows a lot of predatory behaviors because it's very difficult to conceive of such things.
Yeah.
And if we are running with the assumption that people are not aware, it leaves them open because you are dangling the idea of quote unquote success. You're dangling the idea of finance. You're dangling the idea of enlightenment. These are all very sexy things to dangle in front of people because and you put like a progression linearly, or you do these things within 6 months, you will achieve these things. I think these are more common than we think. And so unfortunately, it's like people tend to think of them as something you attain once and you don't really have to work at it. But unfortunately, it's not like that.
Yeah. Nope. Nope.
So I'm curious to know, at this point in your life, how would you define success?
How do I define success?
What does it mean or look like to you at this point? And has it changed along the way?
I think it's kind of like being able to, like what I said just now, you asked me about what motivates me, what pushes me. I think going towards that point would be success to me when it comes to I have a degree of choice to be of a certain, to give out a certain energy with people that I want to, in many different aspects. It could be financially, emotionally, like it could be dance or whatever, It's just being able to,
it's like an exchange.
Yeah, like and I, at the same time, I'm able to enjoy what I'm doing. Because I think that's very important. A lot of people throw away that aspect.
Or they forget.
Yeah, like enjoying is for kids. Adults don't enjoy.
Is that something you've heard?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like, you do this because you enjoy. Seems like you haven't grown up then. I'm like,
yikes, man.
Right? I'm like, what?
Gotcha. Okay.
Because you don't have kids yet. And I'm like, so did somebody force you to have kids? Or did you not have birth control measures?
Yikes. Yep.
Did you get pregnancy locked by the mother of your child? I'm just like, why you make it sound like, yes, I get it. When you have kids, then life is going to be tougher.
Yeah. It's not the end or be all, basically.
Yeah. Then, of course, then makes a point that you will need to, make sure this kid grows up well, But for that to say, like, then you don't enjoy life anymore, then you are going to be a miserable person, what? And there's a reason why I am doing what I do from I enjoy point of view. And at the same time, I have something that I'm doing from a monetary point of view, which also kind of fits into like my personality of like being like a systematic, repetitive, like a little bit of a nerdy kind of person from trading. And it allows me to not need to deal with people, but just myself. So it's very inner work related. I can listen to music and I'm at home. When I'm done, I can do my exercise that keeps my body fit, that is necessary for my injury.
Yeah.
I can dance that makes me happy. So it's like this whole thing is put in such a way where it's not like I'm trying to only live without caring about money. But it's in such a way that if I'm able to progress all this at the same time, it might take longer than other people. But when it gets to the point where I decide to have kids, if I'm still physically able to have kids, I will be able to be a better version of myself as a father as compared to throwing all this away. So this is an example of what I mean of success.
Yeah.
like being able to maintain all this so that for people that I want to, I can be a person that I'm not, in a sense, ashamed of.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I can do better, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But that does not mean that it's a perfect state, like I said. So the balance has to be very careful, you know?
Yeah.
Because I say, if I don't feel like I don't want to be in a state where I feel like I can be better. It's not saying that I don't think I can be better. You know? You understand what I mean? I don't blame myself. But at the same time, I can be better.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I just like, let's say I throw all this away and just go a path that, you know, people call the conventional path, I think I'll be a very miserable person.
You think so?
And if I were to have kids, I'll be a miserable father.
So it bleeds down, basically. It trickles down.
I'll be a miserable husband.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be a miserable friend.
Yep.
Let's say if my friends still choose to stick with me, you know? So, yeah, I'd rather choose a balance of all this and I'm able to live with all these things progressing as much as I can at the same time.
Yep.
That's success to me.
It sounds to me like there's a level of acceptance and I guess also a level of courage as to choosing something so unconventional. So what I'm curious to know is, have you always felt like that? Because I don't know if it attributes to the rebellious thing. You see something conventional, you don't want to do anything like it, because from the dance thing to how you've structured your life to choosing to do trading, everything's very, I wouldn't just say internal, but everything is, I guess, focused on yourself. Instead of, let's say, working with a team or working with, or reliant on a team or like have a boss, you're just directing everything yourself. And it's quite unconventional. And with things straying away from the convention, it takes courage to do, or courage to continue doing. Yeah. So have you always, have you thought about it? Or is it just, yeah.
I did actually, like, because there's a lot of reflecting, like, to be honest with yourself, you need to know yourself.
Okay.
I'm not saying I know myself 100%. I'm constantly learning about myself. But because of that, I get to, you know, view back on why am I like that. So this, for your question, I think it's a combination of almost all the things we talked about in this podcast. The rebellious one is one. Me being a little bit of a systematic perfectionist, Virgo, you know.
Wushu.
The Wushu come in. Wushu resulted in being a little bit better at like picking up dance. So okay, it kind of affects too, right? And my friend passing away. So, and because the story before my friend passed away and after I got injured is when I went into doing I was into sales. And the sales that most people are frowning upon, we were doing network marketing.
Gotcha.
So, you know, like people are MLM scammer, you know, like, so I was already in a situation where I was doing something that most people kind of like shun away from. Like, you think insurance agents get shunned away the most? No, we are one level like higher than
You're
that.
better than that, yeah.
Yeah, we are like, you know, like if, you know, you don't like lizards and then some people like cockroaches are worse, yeah, you know, we are that in that sense. But
Gotcha.
it does not mean that we were doing anything illegal, but it's just the, you know, the framework of perception of what we do. So I was in that scenario of like dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. We were doing sales pitches non-stop, you know, having meetings and it brings to the point of like, you have to learn sales techniques where you are saying things to, in a sense, influence the person to take action. That's effectively what sales is, you know, even from a business model, marketing, all the way, you are influencing somebody to take an action. Yeah. But now I'm literally trying to convince you with my words in your face to make you make a transaction right now. So with that training, and then, you know, like you have to do meetings where you have to teach people that, it becomes like, it was a period where I learned all these things and after that my friend passed away. So it made me really like look at my life and I'm like, okay, so how do you want to live your life? Because this is basically my 20s, you know, like started off with dancing, dance events, yada yada. Then going into sales for many years. Then friend dying. Then dealing with that, COVID, you know, so that's my 20s. And then I'm like, so what did I learn from my 20s was that I remember at the peak of my income doing sales, this was a very interesting realization that I think started to change something. At the peak of my income, I didn't like how it felt. Like, I didn't like myself making money this way, because I was like, so, because at the peak of income, you're like, so as long as you repeat this, you're going to make this kind of money.
Yep.
And then I'm just like, do I want to do this?
What was the type of conversations you were having with yourself?
Yeah, so it was a very interesting, because I was just like, something feels off. So like maybe just now you said, do I always have a sensing? Probably before that, but it was not so. I guess there was already this kind of things that was going on, but I didn't understand. But now that I look back, it was probably something that told me like, this is not, it's not you, I guess. And I was like, I think so too. You know, like it. And it's funny because some people will be like, yeah, you left probably because you never make money. I'm like, at the peak of my income is when I decided that I probably need to stop doing this. And they'll be like, oh, maybe you never make enough. I'm like, let's not go into it.
And it does take a sense of, I guess, courage and even acceptance. Like to realize, okay, maybe this is not for me.
Yeah.
It's sobering even. Yeah. You could be earning however much your dream income, and it's a very sober realization that the thing that I've been pursuing all this time, maybe it's not for me. Yeah, it's damn sobering.
Especially because in this kind of sales environment, most sales environments do things like, vision board, dream list, like things for you to target, goal list, and it's all very future and monetary oriented. So there was a point of time in my life where I was like living like that. Like, okay, I'm doing this because I'm working for this, so that next time I can do this, so that I can provide for my family like this, so I can buy my family a holiday trip like this, So there were a lot of future motivations. But especially, I think the whole thing that topped it off is when my friend committed suicide, because that kind of like,
it disrupted.
What is the point of planning all this if something like that can happen in the middle? And something like that can happen when you are like on the way there. And then somebody just go through something that they cannot take it. Somebody goes through an accident, like my friend when I was 21, accident, gone. Then you're like, then you work so hard for what? Then the question to me, for what?
That's not on the vision board at all.
And like, you can't prepare for that. You want to build them an Iron Man suit.
So even the process of building that, it will blow up in your face probably.
So like, then make me realize that I want to be more present. And I was like, okay, how do I be present with the people that I care about? At the same time, not being a shut-in. While not being a guy that's not progressing at all in life, in every aspect.
And not even living in poverty.
So that's the balance that I think I had to relearn about living life at the end of my 20s. So that kind of like changed how I decided to view life, what pushes me, and what success is.
Even like a restructuring. Like building it from the ground up again.
So completely I view life like it felt like to me my 20s was for me to have a gauge of how I should live the rest of my life. Which, some people like at 30, they probably like have a house, married with a couple of kids. I have friends with kids. But I'm like, okay, good for you.
Like no malice ultimately. Like really good for them.
So it only gets irritating when the conversation comes to me like, why your life haven't progressed this way. Then I'm just like,
it's not of, perhaps you sense that it's not of acceptance and more of like a comparison or even looking down. It's a very, I think the word is very
condescending.
Or condescending, treating you with contempt basically.
Like sometimes then that gets the confrontational. That's why I have to suppress the confrontational part of me. I'm just like, if what I do for a living works out, I can make the amounts I can make will make you not want to talk to me because you will feel shitty about yourself. That kind of stuff. But I'm like, what is the point? What is the point? Like, I used to be in a confrontational like situation. Because sales, you are basically to a certain extent confronting somebody every day.
Yeah.
Because you are facing sales, you are going to face resistance, and then you are just confronting the resistance until the resistance
It dwindles down.
until like the person makes the decision.
Yep.
You know, like, so I have the ability to do that if I want to.
Yep.
But what is the point? Like, do I do that to you and then make you feel shitty about your life? No. So then just,
I'm curious to know, did you enjoy that part of your life doing, let's say, sales, doing marketing? Because what's interesting to know, yes, perhaps the whole industry has a very bad reputation and very bad perception, but the skills and the teachings and the people you meet, and not to say the people you meet, the skills that you are usually amoral. It's just skills ultimately at the end of the day.
Yep.
And it could be beneficial for other parts of your life. So I'm curious to know, if you look back at that, did you actually like doing it? Like meeting people, talking to them, yeah. Or did you realize that it's not for you?
I would think that there is definitely an element of enjoyment back then, because when I left dancing, felt like everything you start from scratch again, and this is a new space, and it's kind of like my first working adult, like workspace colleagues kind of situation.
Yep.
And I guess starting off with a little bit more, like I used to be quite social already, so I think entering that space was not hard for me. And I think because of the way I grew up, I was always feeling lonely.
Sure.
So when I went to the environment and they were kind of like very welcoming and stuff like that, it made me feel happy coming back.
Gotcha.
And then I did make some good friends over there. So it's like I did not feel alone. That's something that I enjoyed. So I think the enjoying of the environment and of course the skills were good skills that till today I'm glad that I had those skills. So it's just the nature of the work was something that I decided that not for me. So that's the reason why I left. I don't like this. I don't like putting myself in this kind of scenarios repeatedly. Yeah.
Gotcha. I think my last question for you is, are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
Whose future?
Your future.
My future?
Or are you realistic about it?
I don't really have a view on it.
Okay.
Because there's no point of reference for me.
What do you mean by that?
There's kind of like no one for me to be like, yeah, this is gonna work out. Yeah, like of course I have mentors from a trading senior's point of view that have made it. So okay, from a trading point of view, am I optimistic? But then again, that's them. Do I feel like I can do well in it? I feel like I can. But the way so if it's just on that, from what I do for a living, am I optimistic? Yes. Dancing wise, if I'm allowed to continue living like this, optimistic about it in terms of maybe I can possibly achieve something as a dancer again. Optimistic too. But what am I saying about why I don't have a gauge on it is because I accept that there are a lot of things that I cannot control that is going to rattle that can possibly rattle situations that I might need to change of plans.
So things could change basically.
Yeah, like what if a new injury pops up? I cannot control that as much as I can. I only can do as much exercise and try not to push myself, you know, recover my body and still try to dance. That's all I can control. But there are so many things outside of my control that I cannot control that that's why if it's within the things that I can control, and if as long as it stays the same level of control, I'm optimistic. Yeah, but
so generally optimistic, but
accepting of things changing, because things always change. Yeah. So it's kind of like it. This is like what I said, probably because of the friend passing away thing. I don't just like a lot of people need order. But I realize I function very comfortably with chaos now.
Yeah, organized chaos.
Yeah, like order and chaos. A lot of people cannot function with chaos. They need an absolute answer. But I accept chaos so much now.
Yeah.
That I'm not just in chaos, but I have a combination of both. So okay, if things are within my control, I will do my best. If I'm able to do that, I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
But if things come in, I cannot control, things might change. So because expectations, like just now you said, one thing positive experience is a negative experience. So I don't just like, okay, my life is going to be good. But I only do the best I can and I enjoy the ride. So that's what I'll say to your question.
It's a beautiful way to end things. And I think it reminds me of this quote. I don't really know who's the original author of it, but it goes something like, everybody has two lives. The second one begins when you realize you have only one. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And I think it's very profound. Because you oftentimes you listen to people when they speak about their past, or when you speak, or you listen to, let's say, someone successful, someone who's running like a company, or someone who's been through shit. And you just hear the lengths. You definitely don't experience it, but you can get a sense of what they have went through. And it's oftentimes the worst circumstances. And I think that saying is it's very center of mind now when you speak about you experiencing what your friend went through, basically, and everything that went and everything that came after. Before we end, is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Nah, this is a big portion into my mind that you have opened up already. I can't find any more. I think I was like, I don't know if I can talk about anything else. Let me think. These are the main few things I can talk about already. You kind of like covered every aspect that I was like, okay, what can I talk about?
So the past 10 years lah.
Yeah, because after this is probably like, maybe like outside topics, how do I feel about economy or whatever.
Why you like soccer?
like who do you support in World Cup? It's not, this like, but like, about my life, how I view life. I even tell you, my mother used to tell me stuff like that. Like how I view money, what I do in my past 10 years.
Like you go Cai Fan store where you order.
So it's I think it's pretty much covered a lot of things that pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay, so where can people find you if, let's say, they wanna connect with you? Do
Instagram?
You have Instagram? Do you post like videos of you dancing there?
Yes,
gotcha.
There are videos of me dancing. Whatever kind of like relatable things about mental health or like psychology, I also like to share.
Yep.
I'll share sometimes irritating videos. That's the cheeky part of me.
Fantastic. And what is that? Where can people find you?
My IG handle is 骨头王, which literally translates to Bone King.
Okay.
Because there's a story about my past. When I used to play Dota, the only character I know how to play is Skeleton King.
It's the brainless one.
Yeah, because I my fingers were not so fast to cast spells. I just, stun and ulti. Ulti don't even need to press. You die, your ulti activates. So I just need to right click you.
Yep.
Right. So then my friend just started, because I'm a skinny person myself, so they just call me Gu Tao Wang, Then I was like, that's quite cool. Like,
how do you spell that?
Gutaowang.
And what about the parties that you mentioned? Like, do you have like an account for that, or is it just like you show up? Is there like a particular spot that you frequent?
I have another account that kind of like posts my like party videos, but I, past 1-2 months don't have a lot. It has been busy.
Yeah.
So
if people want to party with you, go to a hip hop thing.
Actually, you just hit me up on my standard, my Instagram. Putawang main.
Putawang.
Yes, at Putawang. Yeah. So then we can connect there. Lah.
Okay. Fantastic. This has been a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your time, Jonas.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode and feel inspired. If you enjoyed what you heard thus far, do give us a follow on Instagram. And don't forget to share and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode.